of not only the district, the college, the councilman, the Andrew Lee and the Imperial family, we have been able to make these kinds of strides. And so just to bring it all full circle, I think that what has been a really fruitful outcome of all of this is that it's not just about the Korean program. It's not just about city. It's not just about the district, but it's about everybody coming together to build bridges, to and build a community which transcends race, religion, language, and even geographic location. So in recognition of all of the efforts that have gone into this, I'd like to welcome the representative for Councilman John Lee, who has something to present.
Hi, I'm Iris. I'm a field deputy for the Councilmember Lee. On behalf of the Councilmember John Lee, I'm honored to present this certificate to Chancellor Francisco Rodriguez. The Councilmember Lee greatly appreciates his leadership and dedication to education, as well as his commitment to fostering diversity in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
So again, thank you to the Office of Councilman Lee. And then we'd also like to recognize the contribution from Andrew Lee and his representative, James Rue, is here today.
Thank you very much. 안녕하세요. Esteemed members of the Board of Trustees, Chancellor Rodriguez, President Cabru, Ms. Mickey Hong, and the distinguished faculty, honored guests, and members of the Los Angeles Community College. It is with a profound gratitude and deep respect that I stand before you today on behalf of Chosun Empire, a recognized nation. We are truly honored by the warm reception of our gifts to the King statue Sejong has received. This statue represents not only our shared cultural heritage, but also the enduring legacy of education, innovation, and cultural exchange values that King Sejong championed and that align deeply with the vision of the Los Angeles Community College. Almost called it a Korean college. Sorry. We hope this statue will symbolize and help to carry forward King Sejong's legacy of fostering understanding and intellectual growth. His creation of Hangul script revolutionized the communication, empowering his people through literacy. We are deeply honored to receive this certificate and recognition from the Board of Trustees. LACCD's commitment to diversity and the Hangul program is clear and have the utmost respect and even more so love for one of, if not the biggest Hangul Academy program in America. We would also like to extend our deepest gratitude to Ms. Mickey Hong, LACCD's Race and Equity Coordinator and Korean Program Director, whose leadership has been instrumental in fostering these ties. Her dedication to both education and equity has played the most critical role in making this moment possible. In closing, may this statue serve as a lasting symbol of our shared commitment to education, cultural preservation, and mutual respect. We remain steadfast in our dedication to fostering dialogue and understanding, and we eagerly anticipate the continued growth of our relationship with this remarkable city and institution. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And very quickly, so when the mayor of Sejong City visited with his delegation in July, they brought gifts that we are honored to present to you. So One is a mini statue of King Sejong. It is made of celadon, which is something that Koreans specialize in and are very proud of. And so it would be wonderful if this could be exhibited here.
Wow, Nikki, thank you. That is beautiful. Yeah, we have certificates. Yeah.
And then also the mayor of Sejong City, he sent some congratulatory video. These are the certificates for both Congressman Lee and for Andrew Lee. Excellent. Thank you so much. We also have a personal gift from the mayor of Sejong City to Chancellor Rodriguez. Literal silverware. And last but not least, if we could have the congratulatory message from the mayor of Sejong City.
안녕하세요. LA 시민 여러분, 반갑습니다. 저는 한국에 있는 세종특별자치시의 시장 최민호입니다. LA시 한글날 기념 행사에 영상으로나마 축사를 전할 수 있어 대단히 기쁩니다. LA시가 지난 2023년부터 한글날을 공식적으로 인정하였다고 들었습니다. 한글을 비롯한 한국 문화를 존중하고 소중히 여겨주셔서 대단히 감사합니다. 비록 우리가 멀리 떨어져 있지만 언어와 문화를 뛰어넘어 한마음이 된다는 생각에 기쁘기 그지없습니다. 특별히 한글날이 LA시에서 공식적으로 인정될 수 있도록 힘써주신 존 리 시의원님과 한글 확산을 위해 애써주신 앤드류 리님께 진심으로 감사드립니다. 한글은 우리 민족의 정신과 문화를 담는 그릇입니다. 일제강점기 때 한글은 소멸할 위기에 처했지만 우리 민족은 한글과 우리 문화를 굳건히 지켜왔습니다. 한글을 소중히 여기고 가꾸어 나갈 의무가 오늘날 우리에게 있음을 무겁게 느낍니다. 이제 한글은 한국인만의 문자가 아니라 세계인의 문자가 되어가고 있습니다. 이러한 한글이 세계화에 LACD 칼리지가 앞장서 주셔서 감사합니다. 세종시는 내년 1월 바로 여러분들을 환영할 준비를 하고 있습니다. 한글 문화 수도 세종의 곳곳에 있는 아름다운 한글과 다양한 한글 문화 행사를 경험해 보시면 좋겠습니다. 다시 한번 한글날 기념 행사 개최를 축하드립니다. 앞으로도 한글을 중심으로 LACD 칼리지와 세종시가 다양한 협력을 이어가기를 기대합니다. 감사합니다.
All right, thank you so much. That's the congratulatory message from Sejong City. And just one note about Sejong City, they are becoming the de facto capital of South Korea, planning to move major governmental organizations such as their national parliament from Seoul to Sejong City. So we feel that Sejong City is going to play a big part going forward. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. So next up, item E, do any members of the resource table wish to be recognized at this time to make comments?
Good afternoon. My name is Angela Echeverry, and I represent the District Academic Senate. I want to start my comments by wishing Chancellor Rodriguez the very best during his retirement as he transitions to help care for his aging father. Having recently become a grandmother myself, I have a new perspective on the importance of spending time with family and how those precious moments go by so quickly. During his 10-year tenure here at the district, we worked very closely with Chancellor Rodriguez on a number of initiatives. And even though we were hard on him sometimes, we still appreciate his many good qualities. So again, I want to wish him the best in his future retirement. As Hurricane Milton bears down on Florida, the west coast of Florida, I think it's really important for us to recognize the existential threat that climate change poses to all of us. And I also want to take this opportunity to congratulate my colleague, Holly Bailey Hoffman from West LA College, for being appointed as a climate fellow by the state chancellor, Sonia Christensen. Holly has been selected to serve in the area of curriculum, and we really look forward to collaborating with Holly and the Sustainable Environment Institute, as well as the Center for Climate Studies at West LA College, to advance literacy in the area of climate change. On September 27th, the District Academic Senate held a joint summit with the district administration at West LA College, and I want to thank West LA College for hosting. Did a wonderful job. And the summit focused on legislative updates. And so we did talk about the legislative efforts, and I want to take a moment to thank the board and Maria Veloz and all of our legislative partners about the achievements that we accomplished this year. And in particular, I want to talk about AB 2931, which is the bill by Fong for part-time student tutors. This is really going to help our students in the district because it will allow us to hire part-time tutors to help our students. So I'm very excited about that. So thank you. I want to thank Jeff Hernandez in particular, as well as our classified partners and everyone who really supported this bill. It's very important. It's going to help our students a lot. We also were happy to see the instructor of record bill. That was AB 2370 by Cervantes, that basically specifies that the instructor of record is a person that holds minimum qualifications. And that person, that's important for us. We were disappointed with the outcome for SB 895, the nursing baccalaureate degree, as well as AB 2093, the Santiago bill to expand the Promise program to the baccalaureate students. But I think this gives us an opportunity to regroup and figure out how we can, in the future, try to fight for legislative change in these areas. I also want to point out that a number of Title IX bills were passed that are going to, change the way we do training and the way we handle Title IX complaints. The other areas of focus were credit for prior learning, and we are excited about the opportunities to expand our offerings of credit for prior learning to our students here in the district. And then finally, we talked about Common Course numbering. And Common Course numbering, we still have a lot of questions about how this is going to be implemented. As some of you know, Common Course numbering phase 1 is completed, and there were courses in English, communication studies, math statistics, and others that went through the first phase. And there are still a lot of questions. How is this implementation going to move forward for the next stages? Stages 2 and 3 are starting up very quickly. And it's very important that the faculty have a voice in how this Common Course numbering is implemented. Having said that, at the last board meeting, the September board meeting, I have to comment about the large number of public speakers who addressed the trustees about 2 troubling areas of concern. And the one was the large group of nursing faculty from Harbor who spoke about shocking Title IX complaints that impacted students in that program, and the district's failure to address the issue and protect students. So again, I just want you to know that this is something that we still have at our forefront. We're not going to, drop this issue. The other issue, again, was the large number of faculty from trade who talked about the recurring problems with failing elevators. Well, you may say that failing elevators are not within district academic senate purview, but when that impacts instruction, faculty and students can't make it to classrooms, that is a problem. So we have a lot of work to do in the area of gender equity in this district and in the area of transparency and accountability in the bond program. We look forward to the Cous and O'Connor report. And I want to stress the importance of external review, because external review makes us a better district. And I also want to comment on the bond project monitor report. I was really shocked to read that report. I don't know how many of you have read it, how many of you are aware of it. We will be discussing it tomorrow at our DAS meeting. DAS is meeting tomorrow at Trade at 1:30. It's a public meeting. But to read things in this report, like extra on page 6, no structure was in place, no reports, templates, written policies, procedures, or processes were retained. That's really shocking. The investigation into potential bid rigging, I mean, that's also very shocking. The fact that it talks about how a lot of the work products are retained by LACCD has been frequently identified as inferior. Again, that impacts our educational programs, because when our buildings are not working, everyone suffers, students, faculty, and staff alike. So I think, again, there's room for improvement. We look forward to making constructive recommendations so that we can best serve our district and our students with the resources that we have. We know that there are fiscal challenges ahead, but I think we can do better in these areas. Thank you very much. And my colleague, Jeff Hernandez, is going to make a few comments.
Just to bring it up, first off, I wanted to, I guess, express appreciation, support, business item X9, authorized professional services agreement with the USC Race and Equity Center to provide a 1-year membership in the California College Equity Leadership Alliance. And it was really something, seeing that there, and then the description of the membership, what it entails. A couple of things hit me. One was just a reminder of the kind of leadership that we've gotten from this board and from Chancellor Rodriguez on matters of equity and diversity. So that was a really, really important, I think, to folks like myself. I was a local Senate president. We all remember what it was like in 2020, and this awakening in the sense that we needed to speak out and do more. And indeed, those changes are continuing to happen at East LA College, I can say, and elsewhere in the district. One of the things that we had looked forward to in the training that we received through the USC Race and Equity Center was a component that was promised at that time. That was these campus climate surveys. Each year, there was supposed to be a campus climate survey. 1 year it would be students, another year it'd be staff, another year it'd be faculty, and then the cycle would repeat. That's something we haven't gotten. So I bring that to your attention. I'm not saying don't approve this. I actually say you have to prove it, but we need your guidance and over whoever's looking at this contract. We need to get that done. In fact, the District Academic Senate around that same time had put forth a resolution. Actually, the year later, being influenced by the training we had gotten, a resolution on a district-wide survey on social justice, work ethics, and personnel diversification. I'm going to forward that resolution again because we have some new faces on the board. But also, it's really the case that particularly as we see change, right, leadership change, in our chancellor ranks, it's really important for the board to make clear, right, their expectations for change. And one of the things that really struck us at the District Academic Senate when we supported this was the need to get into the weeds, right? Yes, there's legal compliance. We want to, of course, see everything that can be done on that done. But we also need to recognize that there's implicit bias that goes on. It operates within the parameters of what's allowed legally, and it sure as hell is discouraging on folks. And it really undermines our our district values that we're doing so much on, right? So again, just want to draw attention to that, and know that the District Academic Senate is standing ready and willing to be partners as we move forward on these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
May I go?
We're not ready for you yet. We'll signal you when we're ready. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I also want to wish Chancellor Rodriguez nothing but the best in his retirement. And I also want to thank the board and particularly David Vela on such quick action on the elevators. We really appreciate you moving on that so quickly. Also want to thank the district in taking quick action and fixing the nursing issue at Harbor. I understand that that was an issue that there was some kind of communication issue that was resolved rather quickly. So thank you for taking action on that. I want to say this also marks the 70th anniversary this year of Brown versus Board of Education, right? And also we're coming to the end of Latino Heritage Month. A lot of people think it's just the month of September, but it's actually like September 16th through October, middle of October, marking all these Independence Days in Latin America, right? And all of this has a lot to do with the concepts of social justice on why we're here today, why many of you are in front of us today, while many of our students are in our classroom, many of our faculty are able to teach, is because of this long-term fight that we've had, right? Social justice has been core to unions. It's about the concept of workers' rights and power to the people. Collective bargaining gives workers some power and decision-making in our own wages and benefits, which is really important. Right. Once we have a contract, it's our job to enforce the contract as a union and use it to ensure that our members are being treated fairly and equitably. But what happens when we have a contract agreements and they haven't been implemented in well over a year? Well, what happens is we get a bunch of our faculty, the majority of our faculty, who feel like they're undervalued. And this has to stop. We must end the exploitation of our adjunct faculty in a two-tier wage system. We must ensure our faculty's rights are protected. And what we have to do is start working on a particular issue in our contract. The bill's going to come up in a minute to talk about particular issues that have to do with the compensation of wages for our adjuncts. Things that we've negotiated for, things that we thought we had agreements on, and yet we still have not been able to implement in over a year. You're going to have multiple members coming up later, okay, to talk about these issues to you, as well as other inequities we see on campuses. Last, I'm working with the other non-management units on a ranking system of each campus on labor relations. We will be talking together and ranking from 1 to 9, the best to the worst in labor relations. Now, let me say to all the chapter presidents out there, all the campus presidents out there, you all could be number 1. We could have 1A, 1B, 1C, so on, right? You all can also all be number 9, right? But we need better labor relations on our campuses, and our labor units must start working together, and we will do just that. So I'm going to give the remaining time to Bill Ellerton Seelig, our VP, to talk about specific issues that we need to fix in our contract.
You're so lucky today. You get to hear from me twice.
Well, we're disappointed that you're not in a suit.
If I did it all the time, it wouldn't mean anything. Just a couple of points on, for those that watched us during negotiations, it was open, people got to see. And we are at a point where we're short in about 3-4 areas. And then we're kind of crippled in one other one. Your management staff, Rick, Tiana, and the folks have been working pretty steadily, but we seem to have kind of run into a brick wall and a misinterpretation. We see it one way. Apparently, management sees it another, and we can't seem to make any movement with all of the changes going on and the hierarchy, et cetera. And it just keeps going on. And it really came down to three primary issues, which were when we negotiated them, all of the dialogue was about incentivizing faculty for dual enrollment, for student growth, for the additional hours required for, primarily it came about from nursing faculty that are required. And then the second one was our anti-recidivism. When we have faculty that are required to go through training to enter a facility, and it's primarily what are that facility's rules. Jails have their own training, youth camps, different things you have to do before they will physically let anybody on their facility. So we negotiated a very small token stipend for that training at $100 a day. It's gone up since then, but that was, and the other one was one of the board members' programs, which was the dual enrollment for the high school growth, and I think we settled on in-language instruction, where the instruction is not in English. And we've actually seen those numbers going up, but when we negotiate, and they're not like pay by hour, they're just essentially token stipends. It's like $500 for doing a dual enrollment. And it's primarily, it is addressed to those that are on mixed calendars, if they're on the high school calendar and our calendar. That was what the negotiation was about. So those that are all on one calendar wouldn't apply to if they're all on. So it's like, it's very small, but in the end, we are not allowing our adjuncts to access. And so it's like, there's no incentive for them to do what the entire negotiation was about. So that's what it's come down to. And we do have members coming in. Those are the three small stipends. We are still having issues, and I don't know what the major problem is, but in the rating in process, we have members that are not being rated in, that are months and months behind. And I have one of my own that was rated in March, still hasn't been paid, even though they rated him in March, gave him a letter. It's now September, still not paid any of the rating in. No back pay, not even being paid current. So it's something has to happen in what we're doing in rating in. Folks around us in other districts get through that process in a couple of weeks. And I know that Rick Von Coleman and that group, they develop an automated one that can do exactly that. So I'm still trying to figure out where the issue is. Why is it that there's a couple of dozen people that can't seem to get rated in? And we need to discuss one other thing about units, because there seem to be enforcing a new set of rules that we've never enforced in the past. So it just would be nice if we can settle on a chancellor and get back to work, because right now we just keep stalling and stalling, and our members, especially our adjuncts, are the ones that are paying the price for it. That's all I got for now, and then I'll get back to, I brought pictures this time for the pinhole surgery for your gums for James.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the board. I'd like to, unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to see Chancellor Rodriguez since he made his announcement of retirement. I would like to tell him, I really enjoyed working with him, being led by him. When I was a young labor leader, he gave me a lot of good advice, helped me with confidence, and challenged me in ways that he really didn't have to, but I'm thankful for that. So I'm thankful for the leadership that he's had here in this district, and I wish him well in his retirement. Madam Chair, I want to thank you for visiting our group back in at one of these meetings. My dates are missing from me, but I really appreciate it. Actually, the group, you met with the M&O, some facilities directors, operations manager. There's a very good interactions, questions, answers. I want to extend from my group, thank you again. They were very appreciative, and myself as well.
Thank you for inviting me.
I'm going to invite you again to some more meetings. Don't worry. Thank you. So I want to talk about a couple of things, site visits that we're doing at some colleges coming up here at next week. So what we're doing, making an adjustment. I know COVID's been a while, but I at least for myself, I kind of think I've gotten too dependent on Zoom. It's very efficient, but we got to remember that human touch. So we're getting out our executive board. We're going to be at Los Angeles Valley College on 10/16 for, invigorating our members and interacting with them. So reach out over at Valley to Mary John and Tom Abdul from the executive board. I'm pretty sure they've reached out to you. We're going to have a lot of information for you, some swag, some good food. We're also going to be at East Los Angeles College, 10/22 executive board. Reach out to Robert Burns for information on that. I just spoke with him. We're getting that information about locations together. So our members who are watching at home, be on the lookout. We're coming as a group to you. And then Sarah, I want to tell you, I'm sorry to get back to you on our meeting, but we're gonna meet again, so no worries. So there is something that's near and dear, at least to myself, and it's the voting process. We're coming up to voting November 5th. A lot of people have died to vote in this country alone, so we cannot forget the importance of voting. There is a event on October 12th, and it's actually in conjunction with the LA Fed, and it's a COPE event. So basically what it is, it's in support of Measure A. We have a lot of homelessness in Los Angeles, as you're all aware. We've had students coming here, we talk about that, about homelessness. There's roughly an estimate of 75,000 homeless individuals in Los Angeles City County. So SEIU, we're supporting this tax raised from 1/4 of a cent to a 1/2 cent. If not, it'll expire in 2027. It's projected to raise $1 billion in resources for homeless individuals in our county and provide shelters and housing. So we're gonna have a walk October 12th barbecue. So I'm inviting anyone from the community to come and support this event. Our members, you should have reached some of this information, received some of this information on your emails. We're gonna keep sending out that information. So we would love to see anyone who's interested in supporting this event to come on out, like I said, in conjunction with the feds. And then also, the voter guides have been coming out from SEIU. So I want our members to look for those voter guides. These are the suggestions. These are the things, the individuals and the measures that we want to support. August 15th, we had our town hall meeting, and the members elected to support Board President Henderson's reelection campaign, Trustee Eno, Trustee Vela, Trustee Hoffman's campaign. So good luck to you, but I want to spur our members to get out and vote. Now, this is right here in our community, things that are impacting us of this board, but there's a very pivotal presidential election. I don't know if anybody heard about that. We are supporting Kamala Harris, SEIU 721. So I want to encourage people to get out to vote. Our members who are at home, get out to vote. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
You gotta lose some weight to get to that corner right there. Did it pretty hard. Oh, well, good afternoon, President Henderson, trustees, Deputy Chancellor Burke, our guests in person, online, and our members. I'm Andrea Edwards, the president of AFT 1521A, so it's always an honor to stand up here I know we started late, so I'll keep it quick. I want to just introduce you guys to our newest executive director, Mr. Dashiell Johnson. He comes from AFT Local 6106 from Northern Orange County Community College, comes with a wealth of education and background. So we're excited to see this beautiful collaboration. So I'm excited. Thank you, Dashiell. I want to say farewell to Chancellor Rodriguez as well for a remarkable decade of service. And having a relationship of resolution focus with 1521A with my predecessor and always being accessible. I think oftentimes we have impasses where there's no communication and there's not the ability to make those phone calls, to have these conversations addressed before it becomes something we're venting up here. And I thank him for allowing that space for us to have those conversations to kind of mitigate problems and talk from both perspectives of what we see happening. So I'm going to miss you, big shoes to fill, but looking forward to sitting on that hiring panel as well. I want to talk about the Classified Rising event. I wasn't here last board meeting, I had some family emergencies happening here, but it was at the East LA College and it was September 10th and it was amazing. So that Classified Rising marked a year-long campaign, which is focused on looking at how this budget deficit, what does it look like for classified paraprofessionals? What does it look like in maintaining the respect in our CBA? And what does it look like as we're trying to navigate these different situations we may see in our departments? And how do we communicate that with the leadership? And how do we have a collaborative relationship in repairing things? And so, like we say, classified are educators too. So we hope that we get the opportunity to kind of bridge those gaps in conversations and not be excluded from those spaces. I would like to thank again our guest speakers that came, and especially our faculty president here, McKeever, for coming as well. I want to thank Dr. Roman always for opening up East LA College, making it a welcome space for us to host union business. I'd like to thank Dr. Roman as well for, since I've known him in 2021, because I was at East LA College, he's always been resolution focused. So if I have some issues, that is a campus where I can go and watch them in words and action, really kind of mitigate the problems. We don't have grievances that form because most of the times we can go and say, hey, here's where that CBA is being violated. And I'd like to thank him for opening up open data classified, making sure that workshops are accessible, professional development. So thank you for leading in action and always supporting us in what we do. I'm grateful for that. Thank you, James McKeever, again, for allowing us to build this beautiful relationship. We were birthed from AFT 1521. So moving back to that collaborative perspective and not the negative narrative like we're separate entities here. I'm grateful for this working relationship. Thank you to the district. We're working on that CMA MOU. So thank you for making yourself available, Rick, and Vice Chancellor Tiana Williams, for making sure that as we bring these members in, we're doing the best by them, no financial harm, listening, and doing this in a collaborative way. Again, we're still creating task force, because again, I'm a research analyst, and what we look at is looking at these issues where if they're vacated positions that are budgeted for, holding people accountable for not filling these spaces, right? So like I was saying, loopholes cost in the end. There are working out of classification, an influx and reclassification. So when you do not fill these spaces, at least classified in departments that were fully staffed, now to have to take on the work of 5 people that are no longer there, okay? So we wanna make sure that if we're leading this charge, we're doing that with the respect of all persons involved. So I appreciate you guys so much for listening. Thank you to our classified members online as well and in person. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees, Chancellor. My name is Chris Anozan, representing the SCU Local 99. I first want to say congratulations to Chancellor Rodriguez on his retirement with the district. Thank you for your service. I wish him and his family nothing but the best, and my prayers go out to his parents. October 7th marked the first anniversary of the Israel-Hamas war. My prayers and thoughts go out to all the families and victims affected by this war, and I hope for a peace and resolution, and my thoughts and prayers go out to their families and friends and families in Florida. I want to bring up a few concerns to this board. Per our contract, our members are entitled to a full 1 PAL day and a half day for eye exam. The contract is not being honored, and our members are having some issues with having this approved by payroll. And I don't know what the issues are, but we need this corrected immediately. You know, we ratified our contract back in June? So our members shouldn't have any issues when it comes to, you know, taking advantage of any of these provisions in the contract. Also, in our contract, we have a provision for EAP services dealing with conflict resolution. It's my understanding that the district no longer funds this program, and the concern is why? Why are we not funding programs that would help improve the work environment? So, you know, we asking that this program is restored. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
We have online Donna May for Ms. Harrington. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, President Henderson, members of the board, and Chancellor Rodriguez. I join you today on behalf of our Teamsters President, Deborah Harrington, who has provided me with a statement that I will now read. For the record, I am Deborah Harrington, President of the Teamsters, representing our district deans. Also, for the record, I recognize and affirm the resolution set forth by the board today in honor of my LGBTQIA+ community and in celebration and support of the Anapizi and Filipino communities, our undocumented students, and those living with breast cancer, as well as their family members and friends. I want to congratulate and thank again our Chancellor for his dedication and service to our district. It has genuinely been my honor to work with him these past 10+ years. In my experiences collaborating on a variety of student success efforts with Chancellor Rodriguez, he consistently encouraged diversity of thought, created a culture of trust, embodied an unselfish mindset, and fostered leadership in others. From my point of view, and to give him a long-time Dean's utmost tip of the hat, Chancellor Rodriguez delivered. Delivered for our students, for the communities we serve, for equity, and for social justice. I am sorry that I am unable to deliver this message to him personally today, but I want him to know how much his passion for learning and commitment to student success have meant to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now on to item F, reports from the board. Student Trustee Dan, can you please summarize the proceedings of the Student Affairs Committee meeting that you chaired?
Happily. Right now we're working on, we actually just finished up the proposal for the uniform medical contract for all 9 of the campuses to have the same healthcare provided to the students, given that the health fee is all the same. So currently there have been some complaints, or not necessarily complaints, but complaints about certain campuses not having access to the same medical care. And being that we're all in the same room, we're able to discuss and compare and contrast, you know, what's available at one campus and not available at the other. So, you know, certain students are not able to go into the medical facility on campus and ask for a Band-Aid, and other students have, you know, it's just better quality at other campuses, and the health fee is all the same. So we created a proposal, so we submitted that, and we're looking forward to getting that approved. So yeah, that's what we're working on now. It's a great board. We're happy. We have the same goal. We all have the same goal. So hopefully we can be instrumental in making some real changes. Thank you.
Thank you. I will summarize the proceedings of the Institutional Effectiveness and Student Success Committee that I chaired on September 18th. We received 2 informatives The first was for in-language instruction with President Albert Rahman and his team. And the committee was quite pleased with the increase in the number of credit-bearing classes in language and the subsequent increase in student enrollment. And I believe that I can speak for Trustee Buona. He was quite pleased, but as he would say to the committee, we still have work to do. We also received a enrollment, an update on enrollment that reflected a more accurate number based on the team's ability to get rid of some of the fraudulent students that had been counted previously. And I just want to give kudos to President Rahman and his team for their work around in language, but also all of the colleges that are creating credit-bearing classes in language, because it definitely affords us an opportunity to reach demographics that we would probably not reach otherwise. So I give kudos to the faculty and the administrators and the college presidents for seeing this as a priority and really encouraging this improvement. And that is my report. So now, Trustee Vella, could you please summarize the proceedings of the FEMPOP committee meeting from September 18th?
Sure. So we went over the East LA Kinesiology and Wellness Athletic Center. We had a very minor change order, but the project continues to be very, very important to the campus. And it was also an update on it and what different types of elements it'll have. It's a very impressive project indeed. We also spoke about awards and groundbreakings, kind of putting a list together of what we're looking at in the future. And then obviously, I think, we took swift action in creating a plan to address our elevators, not only at Trade Tech, but also the members of the committee directed staff to look at it district-wide, and in particular, looking at the various different obstacles that are at hand, looking at how we make decisions versus fixing them versus creating new ones. And so I think I want to thank Peggy Quijada, who did a fantastic job in presenting that to us, and also the rest of the team that was working overnight to produce the reports. We also went over an active construction project status report. Actually, no, we did not. We tabled that because we did have a very robust discussion on student housing. In particular, I think what came out of there was to create a system that was going to allow us to, in particular, identify properties and a process to be able for the district to look at how we were to take control of them if and when we would to partner into a project. So I think it was also a good project there. And, we just want to say that, we really want to thank staff because they've been working really hard, in particular on some of the committee's requests. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we'll have VP Eno give a report out on the ad hoc committee for Asian Pacific Desi American Student Affairs.
So we met on October 1st and we had, as always, a really robust agenda. First, we started with a partnership with LACCD and UCLA Asian American Studies Pipeline. The program has been doing great development and hiring faculty from the Asian American Pacifica in various fields. And so they just really wanted to expand that and also work on partnerships with us to have our students go to their college, the UCLA. We also talked about the resolution that is going to be on our agenda a little bit down, acknowledging the Anapisi Week. even though we are not an NPZ serving institution, it was really important for us to recognize it. And hopefully, as we further disaggregate data, and hopefully work nationally with federal funds to maybe not have to compete with HSI, and forward thinking, hopefully we can get a lot of those data points to then receive both grants to support all of both populations that need these resources. I think just in general, this ad hoc is really important to me because we really need to establish programming. As of right now, Harbor College does have a student-run program, APAS, which is wonderful. And we were able to have our celebration there this past year, which really highlighted the cohorting system and why students turned out. And so I think if we can identify the need at the other campuses and grow programs like this, the celebration at the end of the year will feel a lot more celebratory and community oriented. And so that is something that we really wanted to talk about too. It sounds like LACC is definitely starting to work more on their programming. And so we love to hear back more about that. And then just a reminder that although it's during the LACCD spring break, that the APAHI conference will be in Oakland again this year. So hopefully we can get folks to attend that. I think the presentation earlier by LACC on Hangul Day and just the recognition just really highlights a lot of the work that we are doing independently. And we just really hope that we can do this more district-wide. And I would love for all of you to come to the next APITA Plus meeting so we can kind of figure out ways to continue the partnership and grow all of the great work that you all have been doing. And so I think mainly that was the goal for that. We'll continue them at least quarterly. I wanted to make sure that we had time with the chancellor before he transitions out, because making sure we have institutional resources is very important for this population. I just also want to speak, even though the Legislative and Public Affairs Committee did not meet, and Angela did speak a lot about the legislative things that we have done, we were once again able to get one of the 4 bills signed, which is huge because it was a veto massacre for higher ed stuff this past year. So again, because of our personnel commission part-time students were not able to be tutors. And through the partnership with Academic Senate's advocacy and work, we were able to write really great legislation with Assemblymember Fong. And now our student tutors, full-time and part-time, will be able to have all of them, which is wonderful. And then we learned a lot from this last cycle, and we will continue our path forward to advocate for the things that didn't pass, because it's a long game on the work that we do. So thank you.
Thank you, VP Ina. Next, we'll have VP Hernandez summarize the ad hoc committee on student basic needs.
Our ad hoc committee on student basic needs was September 13th. Those of you that have been to these meetings know that we start off every meeting with a student presentation. Those students that are utilizing our housing that we are providing through our pilot student housing project, those on the committee know that this is a work in progress. We are building the plane as we fly it. Oftentimes, we see where we have the shortcomings to our efforts and where we really need to improve and where we need to better serve our students. But this last meeting was just truly uplifting. If you want to hear about the lives that are being changed by the work that this district is doing, you know, from the board on down, but especially on the ground, the faculty members and the staff across our campuses that are changing lives. It was an amazing just presentation by students that really displayed a lot of gratitude and just insight on the experiences they're having being housed by our pilot program. So I would definitely encourage you, if you're interested in this work, it's a great place. This committee is a great place to get that information. And it's incredibly important because as we really look to increasing our efforts around building student housing or acquiring student housing, or just really figuring out how to serve the needs of our students, these are the lessons that we're going to take. I just want to put a plug, if you're interested in this work, at our next meeting, the district will be presenting on a process that's transparent and open to the public, where folks that would like to provide proposals around potential housing acquisition can do so in a transparent and proper way. We're again building this plane as we fly it, and so we'll be getting that presentation this Friday at the next meeting at Southwest College. So if you're interested, please join. It's open to all.
Thank you, VP Hernandez. Next up, we'll have trustee Vera summarize the athletic ad hoc committee meeting that he chaired.
Thank you. We got a chance to meet on September 30th and had a great update from Vice Chancellor Albo Lopez and Associate Chancellor, Vice Chancellor Pearl about the upcoming student athlete survey. The expectation of this student survey is to happen sometime end of October, November, run for a few weeks, and obtain results by Thanksgiving. So the hope is to get some I think it's the first time in our recent memory that we can remember doing any kind of survey on the status of our student athletes. We also had a chance to discuss a number of issues that were raised by athletic directors throughout the district. I wanted to call on a few things that will come up budget-wise through the next few months because they tend to be challenges contractually, but as they come forward and as sometimes questions get asked at the trustee level in terms of the process, these were all things that our administrators present. We had a few, President Roman and President Gribbons, thank you for being there, and as well as many vice presidents had made commitments to try to improve this process. We have contract challenges with transportation, buses, vans, video recording, referee pay, statistics. Sometimes we find that there's a gap between what our community college athletic association lists as requirements and sometimes our procurement process. At times we have certain requirements on the procurement side that may not be met by what's a district, what's now a conference-wide or a system-wide endeavor. And so I think the desire was to try to close that gap as much as possible and ensure that our student athletes have a chance to have transportation, have their games recorded, have their statistics put together, and have referees, where we don't continue to have this notorious reputation of not being referees in a timely fashion here in this district. So those are all things that need to sort of marry our procurement process and the actual on the ground activity in better and more consistent ways. And of course, at the board level, we pay and ultimately approve those contracts here. I'll end with, I know there was a great update on eligibility reports through the PeopleSoft to make sure that our student athletes are up to date, and we're able to use our technology to ensure that the student participation process is as up to date as possible here. So with that, that's the report. Thank you.
Thank you. So now, colleagues, on the F2, may I have a motion in a second regarding board travel authorizations?
So moved.
Moved by Eno.
I'm sorry, President Henderson, I'd like to be added to this particular facilities conference along with Trustee Bella. So if we can note that for the record.
I'm sorry for what?
Add, to the conference that Trustee Bella is going to, that we're approving at Trustee Barron.
I believe it's the first time that trustees have been included in that particular facilities conference. So.
I accept the friendly amendment.
Is there a second? Henderson will second.
Okay, perfect.
Roll call, please.
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote.
Yes.
Trustee Buelna. Trustee Henderson.
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez.
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman.
Yes.
Trustee Eno.
Yes.
Trustee Vella.
Yes.
Trustee Vettis. Thank you.
Thank you. So now may I have a motion and a second on item G1, supporting and recognizing Asian American, Native American, Pacific Islander in serving institutions. Moved by Buelna.
Second.
Second by Eno. Roll call, please.
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote.
Abstain.
Trustee Buelna. Trustee Henderson.
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez. Trustee Hoffman.
Yes.
Trustee Eno.
Yes.
Trustee Vella.
Yes.
Trustee Vettis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. Next up, may I have a motion and a second on item G2, celebrating LGBTQIA+ History Month and National Coming Out Day.
Move to approve. Second.
Thank you. Moved by Hoffman, second by Eno. Roll call, please.
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote.
Stay.
Trustee Boulna. Trustee Henderson.
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez.
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman.
Yes.
Trustee Eno.
Yes.
Trustee Vella.
Yes.
Trustee Vettis. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, colleagues. Now may I have a motion and a second on item G3, celebrating Filipino American History Month?
So moved.
Moved by Eno,
Second.
second by Hernandez. Roll call, please.
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote.
Abstain.
Trustee Boulna.
Yes.
Trustee Henderson.
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez.
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman.
Yes.
Trustee Eno.
Yes.
Trustee Vella.
Yes.
Trustee Vettis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now may I have a motion and a second on item G4, supporting National Breast Cancer Awareness Month?
I'll
Moved by
second.
Wellness, second by Hoffman. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Can I make a comment before we do roll call? I just want to say, and this might be TMI, but every time I go for my annual mammogram, it's usually someone who graduated from LACD College who is working in rad tech. So I just really wanted to just say thank you. Sometimes it's somebody who graduated and got their certificate like 25 or 30 years ago.
Wow.
And it's really like very heartwarming that usually I run into a student or former student who is working, making a great living, loving their job and loving the experience at LA City College. So just want to put that out there.
Thank you. That wasn't TMI. Okay, roll call, please.
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote.
Stay.
Trustee Boulna.
Yes.
Trustee Henderson.
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez.
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman.
Yes.
Trustee Eno.
Yes.
Trustee Vella.
Yes.
Trustee Vettis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second on item G5, supporting Undocumented Student Action Week, which is October 14th through the 18th?
I'll move to approve.
Moved by Hoffman,
Second.
second by Eno. Roll call, please.
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote.
Abstain.
Trustee Boulna. Trustee Henderson.
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez.
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman.
Yes.
Trustee Eno.
Yes.
Trustee Vella.
Yes.
Trustee Vettis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. May I have a motion and a second on item G6, reaffirming support for employee advancement, formal education, and professional development?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Vella, second by Eno.
I just want to also say a quick comment, if that's okay. This is something that I think is really near and dear to my heart, and also I think to here to the board, because we really are transitioning in many ways in this district, and so I've been lucky enough to have already served on this board 6 years, and I can tell you that in the last 6 years, it's opened my eyes to how important that is for our employees and our staff and our faculty and even us as trustees. So the fact that I think we're more energized to do this, and I know we've been hearing from all of you, and so we wanted to reassure and thank you, President Henderson, for bringing this forward. Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. And now, can we have roll call?
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote.
Abstain.
Trustee Boulna.
Yes.
Trustee Henderson.
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez.
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman.
Yes.
Trustee Eno.
Yes.
Trustee Vella.
Yes.
Trustee Vettis.
Yes.
Okay, last one, colleagues. May I have a motion and a second on item G7, bestowing Chancellor Emeritus status on LACCD Chancellor Francisco C. Rodriguez?
So moved.
Moved
I'll
by
second.
Eno, second by Hoffman. Okay, roll call, please.
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote.
Abstain.
Trustee Boulna.
Yes.
Trustee Henderson.
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez. Trustee Hoffman.
Yes.
Trustee Eno.
Yes.
Trustee Vella.
Yes.
Trustee Vettis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. So now we're going to have a short video presentation, and then we'll have a break and have goodies out in the foyer that will.
had the audacity to follow your convictions and to be an educator. Well, we're here to celebrate the grand opening of the Student Union here at LA Harvard College. Next Friday, it's on. Winners of this scholarship are all of you, every single one. But vision without action is just a dream. And declare through the signing, through the posters, through the evidence of people that are behind us, and the leadership, that every student goes to college. Because of that constant flow, those who do not have an education will be left out, completely further marginalized. All 9 colleges are supporters in this community to send a very clear and strong signal and unequivocal message to our Dreamer students, to their families, that they're welcome here. We stand committed, and it's a commitment that comes from our Board of Trustees, from all 9 of our college presidents, our administration, our leadership of our colleges, our faculty, our staff, and our students who embrace this population. They're welcome here. Aquí están en confianza. What I like to tell students, what I like to share with you is, sometimes you have to get out of your own way. Our human nature is to excel. Don't curb it. Let your brilliance shine. You are now part of a lifetime LACCD legacy. So as you graduate from West LA College, be bold, be brilliant, be the change you want to see in the world. Be the light. El sol les llama. The sun is calling you. To the women of LACCD, thank you all for the incredible amount of excellence that you bring to your work every single day, in and outside of the classroom. We are declaring this corner of Southgate to be alive again. And we're going to put education as the way forward. There is no stronger indicator of economic and social mobility than in education. Imagine receiving a 4-year baccalaureate degree in dental hygiene that will cost you a total of just over $10,000 and earning an entering salary of about $70,000. That's a wonderful return on investment that we want to make sure that our public knows about. That's why we have a waiting list and more students apply than we can accommodate. That's why we're very interested, statewide as well as here, to expand the number of opportunities and slots for students to take advantage of this wonderful degree program at their local community college. If we embrace this beautiful richness of language and culture and identity, that's what makes us stronger. That's what makes California strong. And the ability, we choose to live, work, teach, study in California for very specific reasons. Persons who have an influence on those spaces and now is advising the United States on how we can make our colleges more affordable, how to make our curriculum and support of the curriculum much more equitable, and ultimately how we increase the success of students.
Foundation expresses gratitude is to do what I think we do best, support students. So with permission from the chair, we're establishing a scholarship in your honor. Oh. There's plenty of 10 years of service. We're seeding it with $10,000.
How cool was that? As we stand on the threshold of a new academic year, I invite us to do so with optimism, determination, and a sense of unity. Together, let's foster a vibrant learning community that uplifts and empowers every individual. Thank you for being a valued member of our LACCD family. Thank you for everything you do. You make all the difference.
Now we're going to take a 5-minute break to enjoy goodies. Don't bring them in here. You do and you get in trouble, it's on you.
So, man. Talk about the property.
Sure.
Okay. I didn't know. I think it was you. Oh, yeah, I know a student. Yeah, I know a student, which is cool, they wanted to do it. But yeah, Dr. Cooper was handling that, but I got it confused with another email, that other, no, like, I think it was like, opportunity to just get me to go and be a judge. So I thought that was cool. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna do that. But anyway, me too. I'm getting to the point where I need to start tracking in my head like, all these emails. There's too many. Um, oh yeah, of course. Thank you. Yeah, of course. And thank you for, putting that together so quick. I know it was really, that was really quick.
Okay.
Yeah. No, and thank you. And yeah, because if you saw, the
But one of my niece went there. What's UCLA? Oh, UCLA. I had a great time at UCLA, but my niece went to UCLA. Kind of got the forest around there. Yeah.
So now we're going to turn to Deputy Chancellor Burke for the Chancellor's report.
So good afternoon, board members. On behalf of Chancellor Rodriguez, I'll be presenting the Chancellor's report today. We have 3 presentations today. So we're going to start, Luba, you can do the next slide. We're going to start with a brief enrollment update. And then we're going to have reflections on the African Diaspora Education Summit in Ghana, which our intrepid travelers are just back this week. And we're going to have an A2Men presentation about how we've been working together amplifying Black student success in the LACCD. And then we'll round it off with Bill Ellerton's scintillating presentation of the Joint Labor Management Benefits Committee, their annual report. So starting with the enrollment. So we're at a period here where we're just starting to conclude the first 8 weeks, and the second 8 weeks will be starting shortly. So you will see some shifts in enrollment. Our head count is down by about 3%, but our enrollment is holding at 100%. So we have fewer students are in more classes during this term, a little bit more than we had at this point last year. The section count is holding pretty steady at 99%, and we had a slight bump in our enrollment per section, going up to 101%. And then there are some other interesting details in terms of where we see some of the changes from the prior fall. And then if we could go to the next slide, you'll see the breakdown here on the class modality and fill rates. So we're getting pretty even between the remote and the in-person. And you see the enrollment patterns there with 82% filling the remote, 79% in the hybrid, and 71% in person. So we should see some changes in these numbers next month when we start, after we start the second 8 weeks, and there's some additional enrollment. Okay. And then moving on to our first presentation, which is reflections on the African diaspora education. And we would like to welcome Dr. Gabru.
Thank you. I had the privilege of traveling with a group of faculty, staff, administrators, and district staff to Ghana, which is a place I call home. And I just want to thank the Board of Trustees, our board president who joined us on this trip, to say thank you. because this trip was truly transformational. This trip was life-changing. And what these folks brought back from their learning, their experience, is something they will share with our district, with our students, with our community. And I also want to say thank you for those come up that went on the trip with me. I have an opportunity to share the we'll have an opportunity to share how special our colleagues and our staff are and the impact they're not only making here in our community, but global community. And I also want to thank our college presidents for their support of this effort. So thank you to our 9 college presidents who supported these individuals to join us on this trip. I will ask Dr. Hanan Juf to help me with a presentation of the amazing things that happened in Ghana and also the individuals who come share their journey and their perspective with you today.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure and really the honor. I'll start by saying this. Thank you to everybody for staying awake because we all got in late on Sunday. So if you see us fading, our apologies. But we had like Dr. Guru mentioned, we had a transformational experience. One that we will take the next 4 or 5 minutes in giving you an example, 2 examples of what we were able to do while we were there during those 10 days. But I can tell you that the work that we plan on doing in the district will be far-reaching for decades to come. So I will start as soon as the presentation can go up. Yes, that's it. And I will start off by saying that this is building on the experiences that the attendees had 2 years ago when they attended. So some of our attendees were able to attend the inaugural trip and made connections. And I don't want to steal the words from her mouth, but if I were to summarize some of the experiences that Dr. Dion Washington had at the time was that in connecting with students and connecting with people from the community, they asked, well, thank you for being here and thank you for having the experience with us. But a lot of people come and take. How are you going to give back? And so that really was the impetus for us to say, on this trip, we will not only come to learn from you and bring something back to LACCD, there are things that we'll bring back. So I'll let her start off with some of her reflections, and then I'll be able to take the rest of the presentation for it.
Thank you so much. I just want to take a moment just to say thank you to you all. Thank you to the board. Thank you to all the presidents. And thank you to Chancellor Rodriguez for allowing us this opportunity. It was truly transformational for all of us, whether it was faculty, staff, students, and we had people from all different backgrounds there, and we all bonded and gelled in such a way that you could never imagine. And I just want to say that the AMEN organization and the All African Diaspora Educational Summit, those committees, they care for us in such a way. We had programming there where we went to workshops. We also went out into the field, but the one-on-one care that they gave us all the way down to the students, it's just to be commended. So we have a video just to show you the fruits of our labor, their labor, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much.
All right, in the interest of time, I'm gonna go a little fast. So it's 2 slides before this. 1, 2, click, click. Yes, thank you. So introductions, a lot of what you're gonna see is focused on an exchange, focused on what it is that we were able to get from the community that we visited, and also how it is that they were informing the work that we're gonna do. Sorry, I don't have the clickers, otherwise I'll go to the next slide. Next one. So really what we're trying to do, as Dr. Dion Washington mentioned, in 2022, she was able to connect with at least 5 villages and schools in an area called Cape Coast. And so as we were looking at the ways in which we could give back to that community, we were going to focus on the lives of teachers and students to improve their resources and infrastructure. And the ways to do those things, I'll keep talking as soon as, just sort of in the interest of time. This picture symbolizes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 participants from LACCD meeting with orphans from a specific area in Cape Coast. We had just spent at least 20 minutes with them as we had just presented an opening of a laptop center. Now, the interesting story about this laptop center or this computer center is that it was the only one from in miles around, so they were all excited to get there. But the interesting story about this is that they had Wi-Fi for years, but no computers to log on to the Wi-Fi. So you can only imagine the exuberance that was happening, not just for the kids, but the people in the community finally realizing this is a resource that we can actually now tap into and how that would affect their education. Next slide, please. We went, instead of this just being a philanthropic visit, we wanted to make sure that we built in the curriculum as well. So a picture on the left just shows some of the work that we did at the University of Ghana, where we were able to witness the final great debate. There were debaters from, I believe, 12 different countries in Africa that were discussing pertinent issues that are happening today, and getting to see them live. And it was so palpitating that I wish we could have, brought some of that to our LACCD students. And on the right side is the opening of the Abakaramba Health Center, which you will see a little bit later. So current achievements, and when I say achievements, I mean these are the achievements of our LACCD district via your employees, via the LACCD ambassadors that are standing behind me. We've established 6 computer labs. There are 15 students at the University of Cape Coast who have their tuition paid for. We have opened and currently furnishing the children's ward at Abakaramba Health Facility. So 8 full rooms with beds and equipment. And at the time, we're still fundraising for 2 more rooms, which I believe we've already gotten done by this point. We have contributions from LATTC, which included school supplies and computers to the local schools and families. And we were building 5 teachers' hostels, because when you think about it, we actually have schools in the remote areas where faculty members had to walk or by bike, try to get to those remote areas to teach students. And so their solution, when they were asked ways in which we could help, was to actually build hostels at the schools so that the instructors could actually stay there and instruct the students there. Next slide, please. So the next slide is actually going to be the video, I believe. Yes, that's the one. I don't know if we have sound. We do. So I'll narrate on what you're going to be seeing. This is the actual opening of the health center. It is a children's ward at the health center. Like the communities in Africa, it was a celebration for the entire community, with the local chiefs and the local tribesmen blessing the ceremony. And it was really riveting to see how people from the community came by to say, the things that you said you would do 2 years ago, you've come back to actually do them. The promises you made to impact our communities, we have actually come back to do them. I skipped the part where I mentioned that 2 years ago, they bestowed the honor of making Dr. Zion Washington a Queen Mother, which is a title in that area. And they actually are fortunate because not all Queen Mothers actually do the things that they said they were going to do. So these are some of the facilities that she was able to furnish with her network of professional and personal friends, with the network of people in LACCD that were able to back her with contributions to do this.
Anyone that knows me knows that I never quit. And I have an affection for this area. So what I want you to know is I heard you. And anything that I can do within my power, I will try to work with you to make things happen.
For the first time, women were able to give birth and not have to lay babies on a sheet.
Honoring Nana Ambao Tour the first, the opportunity to use her skills and gifts to serve this community and generations to come.
We can go to the next slide. We tried to condense in what happened in 10 days, and actually 2 years and 10 days into 5 minutes of slides. But this was just one part of the philanthropic arm. In addition to this, once we got to the health center, we started realizing, well, what does the check-in system look like? What type of curriculum can we bring back in? And so the idea on the curriculum end was not only for us to find ways in which the curriculum that we found on the ground can be integrated in our local Umoja programs here on campus in LACCD, but also looking at computer programs that would help with check-in systems at the health center so that their actual charts will be things that are, excuse me, covered through technology, because they have the technology there now, and we want to be able to have a check-in system that is organized for them. So the goals will be for it to integrate culturally relevant curriculum in the district, which we'll be working on using the 7 steps of from fear to Black student success, where we'll be developing curriculum for the children in the village to bridge their learning rooted in African principles. We're going to be organizing workshops and cultural events celebrating African heritage and traditions via Zoom, so that we can actually, our students can actually do the same thing with the University of Ghana and the University of Cape Coast. And we'll be gathering feedback and to evaluate the effectiveness of our initiatives instead of just assuming that what we're doing is working. Next slide, please. That's all right. Well, I'll just speak to it so that the next group can speak, because believe it or not, this is just one of 9 iterations of what we were able to do on the ground. The folks from LACD did something similar. The folks from LA Valley did something similar. The folks from LA Southwest did something similar. So I say this to say, imagine the impact that this district is having on the continent and some of the work that we're already bringing back. I want all of you to hold us accountable to this. Every single person here is going to be impacting the district. In the next year, you will see seeds of the things that we were able to have exposed to over the last 10 days, influencing the way in which we teach, influencing the way in which we interact with students on our campuses, influencing the ways in which we build curriculum, because that is what we were there to do. So I'm going to give Professor Charles Gaylord an opportunity to speak about their research project, but I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you. The one thing that I'm asking for from our fellow attendees is an opportunity to make this available to our students, because they were the one group that we looked at while we were there, and we're saying we're looking for virtual ways to connect with them, but being able to have our students put their feet on the sand and experience some of the things that we did would be monumental. Thank you.
I got to top that, but good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charles Gaylord. I'm an assistant professor of African American Studies at LA City College. I would like to thank the Board of Trustees and Dr. Gabru for allowing me to speak today about my experience regarding the All African Diaspora Education Summit that just concluded. I'll speak mostly to my personal experience and the actual task that myself and our LACD cohort will plan to implement in the near future. Is not as thorough, but we're working on it. So as someone who has exhibited a lifelong passion for Black history, this trip was an empowering and transformative experience. In my time as a student, higher educational professional, and now professor, I have worked with and studied under some of the brightest research minds that my discipline has ever produced. In African American studies, the perspectives of the marginalized have always been centered, and I would like to believe that I'm well versed in many matters concerning the Black experience, not only in the US, but the diaspora at large. However, attending this summit was a reminder that there are elements of Black history and scholarship in general for all disciplines that cannot be learned by conducting library research or just reading scholarly journals. The summit was a reminder that experiential and immersive learning is essential with the educative process if one wants to fully grasp the importance and gravity of the subject that they're studying. In this case, not only did we visit historical sites that are paramount to the African American experience, we were also introduced to concepts that provided a more in-depth perspective of Black history. We were also presented with pedagogical models that centered the history, traditions, rituals, philosophy, and contributions of Black people from Africa, the Caribbean, and the US. You all may ask, why is this important? So for far too long, Western Eurocentric curriculum has marginalized the voices and contributions of scholarship produced by people of African descent. This in turn has helped to perpetuate white supremacist stereotypes regarding the intellectual inferiority of people of African descent. Unfortunately, these stereotypes, which have been centuries in the making, have unconsciously seeped into the psyche of our most marginalized and system-impacted student population who happen to be Black. As a result, the academic performance of Black students is constantly called into question, as many educators have continued to seek solutions that have proven to be unsuccessful in helping this population. Oh, I'm sorry, a little nervous. The overall goal and objective of this summit was to introduce faculty, staff, and administrators to concepts that center the scholarship and pedagogical methods from practitioners of African descent, with hopes of transforming not only the Black student experience, but the experience of all students within our district. Black students must be empowered with the curriculum that we as instructors teach within our spaces. The aim of the summit is to continue to provide the tools necessary in order to ensure that this goal is practicable and attainable. Accountability, commitment, and responsibility. This was the call that we as the LACD cohort have tasked ourselves with to guarantee that we as a campus and as a district challenge ourselves to create systemic structures that support our Black students from outreach to transfer. We all know the data that highlights the low persistence, retention, and graduation rates of our Black students. However, as a district, we should challenge ourselves to use this data to implement changes that will be long-lasting and set the template for other community colleges throughout the state and the nation. We can begin this mission by transforming our curriculum, my job, to ensure that the experiences of our student population, and in this case, Black students, is reflected in that curriculum. Thank you.
So on behalf of my colleagues and our team, we rolled up there real deep. So, we are excited to bring back so much information that we will share with our community. But we brought you all something as a small token of our appreciation. So where is Dr. Porsche? So we will bring them to you, and we have time, we'll do photo ops, but if not, I know we're running late. Yes. So these are kente cloths that you can put on your shoulders. And also our trustee was with us the whole time. So thank you, Trustee Henderson, for being with us and experiencing this journey as well. Yes. Come on.
And I'm not sure if you all heard Dr. Jude mention that Dr. Washington was installed as a Queen Mother. That is a tremendous honor. Stand up, Dr. Washington. That is a tremendous honor because Dr. Washington is not Ghanaian. And so it's special permission from the government is given in order for them to have been able to do that. So it's a tremendous honor that she was installed, and she's wonderful representation of her position, but also of LACCD. And so I'm very thankful and grateful. And I just want to say that the 11 days that we spent in Ghana, I watched every one of these people that stood before you engage and with one another, but engage just this process of being home and just being one in our collective Blackness, and just having a space and an opportunity to just embrace our culture and find ourselves in that particular space and time. And so I want to thank, my colleagues and thank the chancellor and the college presidents that sent representatives on this trip, because it truly was and is transformative. And once we really wake up and reacclimate to Pacific time zone, I think we can really even appreciate it a little more. So I just wanted to take that opportunity to say that. Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda, we're going to have a presentation from our Aid to Mend partners. So we welcome Dr. Brian Cliff Breland, Dr. Edward Bush, Dr. Herb English, and Dr. Aaron Vines.
Good evening, President Henderson, Deputy Chancellor Burke, members of the board. It's an absolute pleasure that we have the opportunity to share with you the work that Amin has been doing in partnership with the Los Angeles Community College District. You will hear a little bit about our organization and the expertise of the members in terms of addressing issues relating to improving outcomes for African-American students. But we're standing here not on our own accord. First, we stand on the shoulders of Black faculty, staff, and administrators that have worked in the LA Community College District for years on the behalf of Black students, often doing that unrecognized, under-resourced, without the attention and fanfare associated with doing this work. Many of them are in this room today. So we just want to acknowledge and to thank you for all of your hard work, energy, and effort. We're also here because we're standing on the shoulders of our ancestors. In Ghana, we were reminded of a couple of important things. One of the things that we were reminded of, and is directly connected to the work that you're going to hear today, is that we understood and was able to see the excellence that is produced by African people when they exist in an environment, in a condition that centers their history and their culture, where they are viewed from their assets and not their deficits, when they are recognized and seen in all spaces, in all places. And so that was critical. Secondly, where we're reminded of the harshness and the tragedy and the devastation of enslavement, we were able to literally trace the footsteps that were made by millions of enslaved Africans. We were able to stand in the dungeons, in the darkness, where some of the most tragic conditions that humans have ever gone through, we were there. Not only to recognize the millions that made it across the Atlantic and what we call the Ma'afa, but the millions who died, conservative estimates of 10 million human
beings lost their life due to the transatlantic slave trade. And we understand, and the reason why we're here is because that laid the foundation to the structural inequities that we are dealing with today in all institutions, from healthcare to the political system to the economic system, and yes, including the educational system. So MEN is here in partnership with LACCD to remediate, to address, to disrupt that systemic inequities that continues to plague our institutions for far too long. So we are here to do the work that includes addressing structural inequities, not to just do programs, but to inform a particular mindset and approach in how we address the excellence of Black students. And so quickly, we want to talk about this very critical approach. One, we fundamentally coming to you today affirming that Black students are not the problem, nor the thing that needs to be fixed. That if we're going to address improving outcomes for Black students, is our institutions and the structures that are broken, that are racist, and that do harm to Black students. We are committed and we believe that we will not close or reduce the gap in achievement, but we eliminate the gap in service that exists for our Black students. And last, we understand that systemic problems require systemic solutions, that we are not going to be able to program our way out of systemic inequities and racism. That yes, we have to change hearts and minds, but guess what we also have to do? We have to change policies, and we have to change practices. So at this point, I'm going to turn over the presentation to our Executive Director, Dr. Aaron Vines.
Well, I was trying to change the slide, but I don't think it's working. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for, thank you for having us. I'm going to talk real quickly about what we're going to cover. We want to tell you, what and who is a MEN. Some of you may know, but some may not. Why the work is necessary. We talked a little bit about guiding principles that we are guiding principles, but we're going to talk a little bit more about it. We're going to talk about our LACCD and amend initiatives that we've been working on for nearly a year. We're going to talk about our alignment with existing programs and the critical next steps. Next slide. And I want to introduce you to our board. This is, I think all of our board members are in this picture here. Next slide. I don't like that picture of me, so I want to keep moving through. So a little bit about the history. We were talking a little bit about the data of Black males in community colleges. Well, in 2006, there were 6 administrators, young administrators. They're not so young anymore. But co-founder, Dr. Bush, he still looks young, but they were at Admin 101. And I know you all are familiar with this, so I won't go into what it is, but it's a basic training, beginning training for new administrators. And they were talking about the data. How are students doing in LA City Community College District? How are students doing everywhere? And the common theme was that Black males were at the bottom of many of the success indicators, if not all. And this group of young administrators had already congregated together because they were the only ones in the room, the only Black men in the room. So they congregated together and they started to talk about, what are we going to do? We talked about, I don't know if you saw the beginning of the slide about not normalizing. I know Dr. Rodriguez talks about not normalizing Black students being at the bottom. Well, this group had the vision to do something about it by creating a 501c3 and created a MEN to work on professional development, work on mentoring. And I need to say that a MEN has been able to do a lot and they volunteer. This is volunteer work, after work hours, weekends, whenever we can. The board is completely volunteer. In that work, we've been able to do quite a bit. If you look at who we have on our board, we have 1 chancellor, 5 college presidents, a visiting executive of educational excellence in EEOP at the chancellor's office, former vice president, 5 deans, and 2 faculty. Mostly everyone on there is faculty as well, but their primary position is what's listed. And what we've been able to do, and we're really proud of the work that we do. We know we don't do it by ourselves because we have the support like you all gave us in sending as many people as you did to Ghana, engaging in our partnership. But we have 44 charters at the California community colleges. We'll have 50 by the end of this year. And what does that mean? That means we have advisors that work with the students as an institutional agent. If they need something on campus, they know where to go. If a student is thinking about dropping out, can't find resources, they have a connection that they're familiar with that's there for them. They create a relationship throughout their years together. They do different activities. Someone's covering it shortly, so I won't go into it too much. We've been fortunate to receive a grant from ECMC to get to onboard charters from outside of California. We've had colleges outside of California asking, hey, we'd like to start something like this here in these different states. And fortunately, we received a grant where we're going to be able to honor that, starting with 5 this year and 5 next year for out-of-state charters. In our Leadership Academy, you heard a little bit about the trips to Africa, but we also take trips to Africa with our students. And it's a study abroad. This past year, we had 4 of your students, 1 from West and 3 from City, that accompanied us to Zambia, Botswana, and Mozambique. And it's a study abroad where they visit museums, they go to colleges, they see how students learn at other colleges. And I have to tell you, they were quite impressed by Zambia's, it was a medical school. These students were so engaged, they were packed in a room, probably about 150 students, 100 students. And our students commented just how engaged they are. And it was a beautiful thing to see. And they also met some of the young ladies as well, and they were excited about the opportunity to to meet and socialize with the other students. We were able to give over $1 million in scholarship and aid since inception, and we used to give like $250 out of our pockets by scrounge our money together and give scholarships, and now we've been able to give over $1 million in scholarship aid. We have our annual African American Male Summit where we have to change locations because unfortunately we sold out for the last, I think, 3 or 4 years. And so we're going to look for another facility. You heard a lot about the biennial African Diaspora Summit in Ghana. Powerful, 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 powerful. And thank you for your commitment. There's a professional commitment, but there's also personal identity experience that everybody I speak with that goes, they experience it. And it's invaluable. It's absolutely invaluable. So thank you. And then also we offer professional development. Next slide, I think I'm finished. Oh, okay. This time I'd like to welcome Dr. Byron Breland, Chancellor of North Orange Community College.
Thank you, Dr. Bynes. First off, good afternoon, LACCD Board of Trustees, Board President Henderson, Deputy Chancellor Burke, and also want to acknowledge our CEO colleagues in the struggle, the campus presidents, our peers, as well as our labor leadership and leadership of the Academic Senate and the classified professionals. Let's give us, it takes a village to do this work. And I also want to acknowledge Francisco Rodriguez, of course, isn't here, but all of the tributes to him over the years, being a colleague and the great legacy that he has left on student success and the support of the Amen work, really from day one. It's actually surreal for me to be here in front of you after a almost 20-year journey with these gentlemen here and setting up Amend and being at a place now we have charters, we have state funding, we have biannual trips to Africa, and we just have, this is exactly how we drew it up 20 years ago. I would say that. It really is. This was the vision and to be here. So it's a surreal moment for me. And I want to go ahead and get to some of the numbers to point out what's been going on in the partnership. I also want to commend the LA Community College District for the work that you've been doing to support Black student success overall, because as we dug into the numbers, you've got some great things that are going on here. Let's go to the next slide. All right, so I'm going to start out here with first the student trend. And the one thing I want to point out is that the student numbers have gone down just over the last decade by more than 50%. And you can see that, and we're referring to all of the African American students. They've now leveled off, as you can see, at around 9,000 students. So the bigger question is, where have all the students gone? And have we done enough to bring them in and providing educational opportunities? Next slide, please. Thank you for being the clicker. This slide here shows the overall trends in LA County, and you can see while LA County has remained stable really over the last 20 years, you can see that the LA district again has dipped in the number of students, Black students that you currently serve. Next slide, please. This is the breakdown of your numbers across your 9 colleges in terms of where the African American students are being served, percent-wise, as well as the N. And I want to point out that it's important that we always show the N because the percents are misleading and every single student matters in this effort. Every single student. So I'm proud to see the N represented on this chart in the college breakdown. Next slide, please. This slide simply shows that the gender balance is equal between male and female for the most part. Next slide, please. I'll skip through some of these quickly because there's a lot of slides and we've got more to go through in the interest of time. This I thought was a rather interesting demographic here, picture of the demographic of the students that you have between the age of 20 and 24 who are coming out of the high schools, and the representation of African-American students going down and a lot lower than the general student population when looking at all LACCD students. The next piece that I want to point your attention to is the demographic of age group of 35 and over. And you can see there that you almost have twice the number of students who 35 to 54. So it shows that you're serving an older demographic, which opens up a tremendous amount of opportunities in adult education, creating those pipelines from your non-credit pathways to for credit, and also to meaningful substantive job training to provide economic mobility in communities. So I think we've got to focus and turn our focus given the data, because the data is unimpeachable in terms of what it's telling us. We have a huge opportunity to serve community in that age demographic. Next slide, please. Student characteristics entering in the fall, and what I'll just point your attention to is the number of students with basic needs insecurity. 78% overall, but 64% for the aggregate of LACCD. And again, I would advise that we dig deeper into the data and see which communities have higher levels of basic needs insecurity. And that information is there. And I think there's an opportunity to look deeper into that to see where we can provide support. Next slide, please. Student racial experiences. This is a result of a national assessment of collegiate campus climate survey, NACCC, administered through the USC's Center for Race and Equity. There are about 190 schools overall across the country that were surveyed. About 60% of them are 4-year institutions, public and private, and the other 40% are 2-year institutions. So that's where these numbers are coming from. You can see where LACCD lines up in reference to the Black students' experiences as well as students of color in comparison to our white and Caucasian students. Next slide, please. Closing racial equity gaps. I'm going to go ahead and let's skip past this one. Next slide. Recent LACCD equity gaps and completion summary. I want to point out really the last, the middle 2 bullets, so that the completion rate for white students increased over the fall from 2017 to 2019 using those cohorts, leading to greater disparity in completion rates, likely due to differential adverse effects of COVID-19. And the next bullet underneath of that one is for the 2019 cohort, the 3-year completion rate for Black students did not recover to the fall 2017 level as of yet. And then preliminary data for fall 2020, and also just to point out, this is a lagging data set. So we're still bringing in information. So we have full information on fall 2020 on the way, but it also suggests that a continuation of the recovery is still not quite there for all student ethnic groups. Next slide, please. District-wide equity gaps, fall 2019. I want to just point out that all the equity gaps and the momentum point metrics from the fall 2019 cohort have been met. So I want to congratulate again the LACCD district and doing this great work that is pointed out by this particular chart. Next slide, please. 3-year milestones for first-time LACCD students starting in fall 2019. The one thing to point out here really is that the Black African-American students are lower on all the metrics of the 3-year milestones that have been presented. And the goal would be, of course, is to continue to close that gap and look at the data as to why they're lower and where we can continue to provide additional support for those students. Next slide, please. Completion rates for the LA College Promise. I think of note here, your African-American Black students that are participating in the LA College Promise are doing better than the African-American Black students that are not participating in the College Promise. So how do we scale the College Promise up to provide those resources and access to all of your African-American Black students and all students for that matter? And I want to point out too, while there's a focus on Black African-American student success, we know that rising tide lifts all boats. All students can be successful. When you look at the data and you can predict how successful a student's going to be, if you look at the regression analysis of income, zip code, and other factors, you can predict already almost to the T who is not going to do well in those transfer level courses or who is not going to stay and complete. And that is something that's what we call the systemic conditions that we continue to replicate, that we are trying to change. And that is really at the base of what we say. And we mentioned that Black students are not the problem. It is the system and the structure that is the problem. We need to identify where we need to make some changes that are consistent. Next slide, please. African-American employee representation. This is where you can see where you have your African-American and Black employees working across the district and at which campuses. Next slide, please. The summary, there have been decreases in enrollment of African-American students over time. We mentioned that. They tend to be older. First-time students receive financial aid and get higher rates than all LACCD students, but are less likely to be enrolled full-time. So again, another opportunity to see how we can boost that full-time enrollment. The students experience more basic needs and security. Of course, an equity gap in the first year and the 3-year milestones. Black students of color are less likely to feel safe and included on campus, again, per the study through the USC race and equity assessment that was given, I pointed out earlier. And the proportion of African-American employees exceeds that of the students. And so I actually want to congratulate the LACCD because that is not the case in most districts throughout the California community college system, where you have employee groups that actually match the numbers of students, and in this case, slightly exceeding. So you should give yourselves a round of applause for that. And you may say it's nothing that we're doing, but you're setting up conditions where people want to work here and serve that community. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to really summarize, our foundational philosophy, again, is rooted in the partnership, that the students are not the problem, it's the system. We want to emphasize that improving outcomes and eliminating achievement gaps is possible if we all work together and focus on the issues at hand. And we want to recognize that systemic problems do require systemic solutions. And our comprehensive strategy is multi-layered, combining executive leadership engagement. We mentioned the retreat, educational programming through master classes, student support through the expansion of our charters, and a pipeline development, which you all have right now in place, but continuing to expand that through the LAUSD partnership with the focus on both immediate and long-term solutions. And also want to mention that, Aid to Men brings a significant experience in leadership in doing this work and being committed. This is a life journey for many of us who are here speaking to you about this right now. And as I said before, it's almost an out-of-body experience for me to be here talking about this so many years after we came up with the concept of amend in the directions that we wanted to go. The pipeline development, it creates seamless transitions between K-12 and higher education. The data sharing is another opportunity that we have to continue to be innovative between LACCD and LAUSD. And we also want to continue to implement automated acceptance from LAUSD into LACCD in order to facilitate the students' onboarding and them being able to access the services that you all do provide. And I'm going to go ahead and conclude because I don't want us to run out of too much more time. But this partnership really represents a comprehensive and well-structured approach to addressing Black student success. Its strengths lie in a systemic approach, strong organizational backing, and a multifaceted programming initiatives that we've been engaged in over the years. And now being able to bring that to LACCD again is very fruitful. So by addressing both immediate support needs and long-term systemic changes, the partnership here in itself has positioned itself to make meaningful impacts on Black student outcomes. And the key really is to have ongoing success with this and to make sure that we continue to analyze the data, be driven by more specific metrics. I think now we have a baseline, and looking forward to continue our partnership and working with the LACCD. So with that, I'm going to conclude my section here of this conversation and welcome back up Brother Bush, who's going to introduce the video.
So next slide, please. That's a little bit about the master class that took place, a couple of them. Next slide. Okay, this real quickly. So all the LA colleges will have charters. Most of them have all the paperwork completed. Most of them have been trained. We're fortunate to be able to give the advisors $1,000 for their time and effort. The student charters last year received between $12,000 and $30,000 per charter to assist with programming. Next slide, please. And these are just some of the things that topics that the charters focus on in their weekly, bi-weekly meetings whenever they have them, from resume writing to being an A student, voting, and mental health, just to name a few. Next slide, please. And these were the couple of meetings that we had with LAUSD, LACCD, and we have another meeting coming, but it was kind of trying to figure out what we can do to enhance the pipeline. As mentioned, we're fortunate to have a lot of experience in community colleges on our boards, so we're able to really introduce ideas that may not have been attempted. Next slide, please. And this is an upcoming event. And we look forward to providing a keynote and assist with planning, breakout sessions. Next slide, please. Trying to go fast for you all. Another masterclass upcoming event, and then we have our second convening with our pipeline project that we're being invited to. I want to make that clear that there's a lot of great work going on in the LA district, and we're being invited to assist with that work. Next slide, please. Now, Dr. Regina Smith, unfortunately, is not here dealing with some leave time. And she put this video together, had folks do it, and it just gives an idea of some of the work that we've been doing. So I want to give her kudos for her vision and work with this as well. Play the video, please. I lost it.
Yeah, really quickly, wanted to introduce myself. My name is Herb English. I'm the president of AMEN. And I come to you proudly a community college graduate. I was able to benefit from the EOPS program, the Board of Governors fee waiver, and I really needed that financial aid. I really want to really double down on the thank you to Dr. Regina Smith for all her work in putting this together. She's a heaven sent for us to partner, and I'm very proud to be able to do that. I cleared my schedule this afternoon to get here from Riverside, California. I am a dean of counseling and specially funded program at the college that I graduated from. So there is success within our system when we pour into our students, and I'm an example of that. So in closing, thank you so much. I'm gonna I'll give it to Dr. Bush to close us out after this video. Thank you so much.
I just want to thank the Chancellor and the board for this wonderful opportunity to put together this collaboration between our Black Student Achievement Program at LA Unified School District with our Umoja program with the LA Community College District. We had almost 100 people participating today.
What would happen if we would actually infuse our students with everything that we are delivering to them at the college level, but much earlier? Imagine the success we could have.
You are now the catalyst to propel and encourage, to motivate and inspire them to do this work. Because as Black students succeed, all students succeed.
What I didn't know, there's 185 high schools in LAUSD. That's a lot of students that we can work with at the community college level. And so from the LACCD perspective, I'm looking forward to really developing a natural and easy pipeline for our students to come to LACCD colleges and continue their education.
So what I get to do every day is just love on Black students. That's my favorite thing. I get to see them, I get to talk to them, I get to build those relationships with them. Thank you.
The nice thing about this job as a BSAP counselor is I can focus more on real work of counseling as opposed to documenting my work as counseling. Okay, so I really can get in there and make a difference.
Living in the community, we don't always hear what's going on, but to hear the positive, the very intentional work to making sure that Black students are not only doing well, but going to college if they choose to. There's a lot of intentional work being done, a lot of educators that care, that are leading with love, and it's very obvious in the outcomes, and the leadership is incredible. So we've been excited to learn about it.
We're all in this together, trying to do the same work to impact really the same communities. We all got cousins and families that we're impacting, brothers, sisters, and multiple generations of folks that really gonna be impacted by the work that we're doing.
It's not every day that you get a day like today, where you have people in a room with the energy centered on Black student success.
I'm a firm believer that students cannot be who they cannot see. So I'm hopeful that we can continue at our levels to have the kind of representation, because representation does matter.
Like if our mind doesn't think about freedom, liberation, and sovereignty, then it will be difficult for us to imagine the type of strategy, the type of action plans that will bring healing, that will reduce harm, that can address trauma, that will allow us to operate in a way as a community to be interdependent and not dependent, to not just prepare our students to go work for somebody, but to open up their own business, to create generational wealth, as opposed to living paycheck to paycheck. So what I want us to do in this moment, in this space, is to be able to say, I want to show up and do this work as a free Black man and as a free Black woman.
What I want for Black people is to no longer operate in survival mode. So for us to be able to think freely, love each other, work together, and build together.
And the challenge that I gave them is, if we are the largest community college district in the country, and LA Unified School District is the second largest in the country, why can't we collaborate? Why can't we get their 40,000 African American Black students at LA Community College District and help enroll them in college, dual enrollment, complete college, and be successful? To be here in this space, in this room, with all of you sharing the work that we do together, the same goal is to educate, elevate, uplift our Black African American community, our students. And it takes a village to do that. It takes a variety of cultures and people and resources to make that happen, and you are the village in this room.
This was something that was spectacular for our BSAP counselors. This is something that motivated us in what we needed to hear as far as dual enrollment and college career pathways are concerned. So I just thank Dr. Regina Smith for including us in this and bringing us this information.
the fact that we can all get together at the different levels, at the community college level and also at the K through 12 level, share this information and be brave enough to consider that our Black students are very important and that the success of one student is the success of all students.
Quickly, I know time is far spent. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Edward Bush, co-founder and president-elect of AMEN. And during the day and most evenings, I have the privilege of serving as the president of Cosumnes River College for the past 10 years. People often ask me in this work, what are the ingredients in the work of anti-racism and addressing systemic inequities? And I say three things. One is resources. Resources matter. Money matters when we do this work. Second is have the expertise to build capacity, that you have to have folks that's connected to your institution or work with the institution that understands and have the lived experience of our students, in this case, particularly African-American students. And third, which I think is most importantly, we have to have the courage. In this country, it has never been popular to stand up for African people. It has always been met with resistance and opposition. And so I want to applaud you, LACCD, for the courage to stand up and say that we have a unique opportunity to address and to center the needs of African-American students in your district. You have an enormous opportunity in front of you. This work is happening in a lot of different places, but it's not happening in a place like LACCD. When you prove that it's possible to center the experience of Black students, when you demonstrate that it's possible to close the gap in achievement, when you demonstrate that it's possible to recognize and uplift Black faculty and staff, when you do this, it would eliminate the excuse of any other institution in college that would say that it's not possible to do so. You will be that example, you will be that model, and we're excited to partner with you in making this a reality. So this will be a beacon of hope, an exemplar institution of 9 colleges that say that African-American students are seen, valued, and loved. We appreciate your time and your commitment to this work. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that.
And last but not least, we have William Ellerton Selig, Chair of the JLMBC, pulling up the rear.
All right, do I have the, hopefully you can bring up the PowerPoint. Hello. I also would like to introduce Breza, it's Costco, but sorry, buy all my stuff. She's been immensely helpful in the management side for, this is the annual report that's required by the charter of the Joint Labor Management Benefits Committee. I think I got it right for the first time ever. JLMBC. This is the group. It's a labor caucus group with all the labor units plus management. And our charter basically is to report to the board on what we're doing to try our best to control the healthcare costs and maintain the coverages, et cetera. So I'm here, and this is the closest we've got to our annual report, which is supposed to be in September, that we've made in a very long time. So COVID kind of pushed us all out of whack for years. If we can move to the next slide. I don't think I'm going to read this to you, but this was the charter that established us. Probably the biggest thing that happened at the time was when we came together and went to CalPERS in an attempt to stop the the double-digit numbers. This is who, for those that want to see it, they're represented. These are the folks I get the honor of working with every month, and then in between on all the issues. Our administrative rep, Tiana Williams, has been very helpful. In fact, in the last couple of years, we've been making some progress. So you can, there's an error on there. Okay. There is a new staff guild. That's you? Oh, so we did get it right. I was like, I guess I should get my glasses on. So we did get that updated, and you can see each of the representative units. This is the voting members that make the recommendation. Despite what people may think, JLMBC doesn't decide these things. We research it. We have an outreach arm, or what do we call Gallagher? A consultant that helps us identify different things and try to figure out what's our best bang for the buck. And then we make a recommendation that comes to the board. And you guys either tell us no or yes. Next slide. And so basically, these are the things that we're kind of required to do. I will let you know right off bat, we made a slight error on the presentation. We'll correct it vocally when we get there, and then we'll present an updated version for the amended record because we couldn't change it after it got posted. So we're medical review renewal, the dental renewal, the vision renewal, and then voluntary life. And we do have some accidental death and disability renewal. And then just a real short cap of 2024 JLMBC, what we've been doing. Next slide. That's the new one, right? Okay, so the one that you would have in front of you that was posted would show those numbers in half. And the bar number is not correct, right? This one's the correct one. So this is the correct one. So it was basically, it was cut in half. The numbers got inputted wrong. So these are the current correct numbers, but the one that was posted were cut in half. So. Okay, go ahead.
So, hello, everyone. So as Bill mentioned, I'm co-presenting with him, helping him a little bit. My name is Brisa Casco, Health Benefits Manager. This right here is our medical renewal for 2025. You see there's a slight increase of 9.7. So the first column shows you our total enrollment, which is 7,352. The next column for 2024, you'll see the cost. And then so between 24 and 25, the difference is about $14 million. That's the 9.7 increase. Next slide, please. This slide has claims information regarding our dental coverage. We have a few dental coverage plans. This one specifically talks about the 1,000 maximal annual benefit. The first column is the years. So the first one is missing 2024, but that is an aggregated number between the months of June 2023 and May 31st, 2024. So we have an admin cost, annual admin cost of $62,948. That divided per member, per employee per month is $4.38. So as you can see to your right, the total claims is about $900,000. And then again, the last column shows you per employee per member. It's a total of $62.44. The bottom box also tells you the same information, but with our better plan, which is the 3,000 maximum annual benefit. And that's a little bit more expensive because the benefit is richer. So you can see the per member per month is $4.42. And the total claim cost is $4,130,000. And that equivalents, the equivalence to per member per employee per month is $90.43. Next slide, please. So this is the same chart, only with retirees information. You'll see here the total claims cost for 2024 is $2,648,000 per member per employee per month. It's an average of $73.94. Next slide, please. And this is where we had an error. So the total enrollment is not 4,116. The total enrollment is 7,581. So that skews our difference on premiums. So that would be the difference is average 367,000. The percentage rate remains a little bit similar. It's 4.8. So this one needs a correction. Next slide. And then for vision, we actually did pretty well. Our claims and our annual claims were projected higher than what it actually was. So there's a difference, and instead of having an increase on this one, we have a decrease. So you'll see the second chart shows a 11.9 decrease. And this also has a guaranteed rate. It's called a rate pass, which means that our rates will remain the same until 2028. Next slide, please. And then for basic life insurance, which is a plan that the district pays, there's no change here. The cost will remain the same until 2025. One more slide, please. And then lastly, here we have voluntary life insurance. Here as well, there was no change. We have a guarantee rate pass until 2026. So our benefits will remain the same, costs will remain the same, and there's no changes here. One more slide, please. And this is our closing. I'll defer to Bill.
Things that were mentioned in there, I would personally got that deep into those numbers, but the 9 point, just under 10% fee increase, that is a slightly weird number in that the CalPERS actually buys down part of the rate increase. So the actual increase was a bit higher than that, but CalPERS does buy that down so that it smooths out any major hiccups to us. So it's within what our Jeanette Gordon kind of anticipates about so much every year, and we hopefully 10%. So it shouldn't be too bad. I would like to, just so that you get, there's a relatively large savings coming on the VSP. And we did find, and this was as of yesterday, we were going to be bringing you next month, slight improvement to the VSP plan, and we came at it and approved it based on the savings. There'll still be almost $200,000 in savings, and we're asking for a small increase to add computer glasses for all employees. We did this a couple years ago, but what we discovered that we missed was if you don't wear glasses, you can't get blue blocker computer glasses. You have to have a prescription for that benefit to carry. So we did vote. It'll be coming to you next month. It's just it's $27,000. We'll add the ability, what's called eye care, which will then allow you to get the blue blockers so that you're not going blind staring at our computers all day long. So we try to keep all of those kind of things. That's what JLMBC does. So this is basically what we were doing last year. Next slide. We do this every year, a voluntary benefit review. We made some progress before COVID. COVID kind of slowed us down, and we're still looking at it. We have made some moves to kind of coordinate everything into one group. The dental benefit review and renewal, she went over the actual numbers. Our dental benefit is self-insured, so it's Delta Dental is our primary provider. They're the managers that just coordinate all the billing, and then MetLife is the secondary that is an actual dental HMO. And we continue to review that to see if there's better options. Currently, there just isn't. Delta controls about 85% of the market in the state, and there just isn't, unless we want to ship people out of state, there's no, so, but we'll keep looking. Like it says, the vision renewal, the management did a great job in doing the contract that held us very stable. It's actually been going down every year a little bit, which has been good. Next slide. I think you guys get the newsletter. Do they get the newsletter? I believe you guys get the newsletter as well. One of the major things that we do is the JLMBC is the newsletter, which the one that just came out for open enrollment, a big chunk of it is make sure that people know how to do the open enrollment, et cetera. And just so that folks are aware, you've probably been receiving, if you've been part of Anthem Blue Cross's PPO plan, you probably got that letter that says, hey, we're changing. It's not as major as people thought it was, and so we tried to explain that the management of the PPO, the PERS Platinum and Gold plan, is changing from Anthem Blue Cross to Blue Shield of California. The plan itself is the same. It is still called PERS Platinum or PERS Gold. It's still the same plan. Nothing changed in the plan, just who's managing it. It's very much like Delta Dental. It's self-insured through CalPERS. So they do it like our Delta Dental, and they can hire whom they want to manage it. They promise it will be seamless. We'll see. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. And then we generally have discussions on what we think people want to hear about. And I would say we're now working on the spring newsletter now. We have made some concerted efforts. The cost of postage has gotten a lot higher than it used to be. The cost of printing has gone up. And we are gradually moving to as much electronic distribution so that the newsletters are on our SharePoint site and they're there forever. And anybody can go back and look at them. At least 20 years, I think we're up to about 20 years now worth of them. And we want to move towards, and we just voted on Tuesday to move towards primarily electronic distribution. So you'll get an email, it'll have a link, you can download it, print it, do whatever you want with it. That's been the norm for our active employees, and it is now going to be the norm for our adjunct employees as well. And we are moving towards into our retirees. Our problem with the retiree unit is just we have difficulty keeping updated addresses for them and contact information. So we're going to move to a postcard version, which will give them a direct link electronically. And if they wish to request a printed version, we will make that available. But we get several hundred of them returned to us every time we mail them out. And it's just getting, so we're trying to save, basically what we saved in that is what you're going to pay for computer glasses. So we do take a really close look at it because we have a certain management person on the team who reminds us that if we can't, that we need to pay for stuff. So we do our best and we try to recommend what's within that and within reason. Next slide. Other major things that we talk about all the time in case folks don't know it, we do have wellness apps. TELUS is the name that we now have for our EAP folks, which we discovered has a legal portion to it that we didn't even know about. So we're exploring that a little bit more. I believe we put it in the file that it's a self-evaluation review. Adjunct faculty, part-time healthcare. Kind of want to give this a shout out to the chancellor on this one. With his support, we became one of the few in the state that went all in on our adjunct faculty. It now makes our adjunct faculty, if you combine salary and benefits, there will be the parity compensation to everything else. So that in itself was a massive undertaking. And at the moment it's working and it's long. I mean, the state has realized it's costing some money. And as long as they continue to fund that account, we'll be fine. And then we had that, JLMBC had those thoughts. And then during the negotiations, we made plans that set in place what would happen if they don't. And no matter what, the adjunct members will have at least the health care for themselves. But currently and for the foreseeable future, it includes the family and dependents. So that was a major improvement. And many of the districts around us fought their employees and did not go all in. So I want to thank him for that and the support and the board support in getting that for our adjuncts. Because I can tell you, if you've suffered a major health event, it changes your perspective on what the benefit is worth. We continue to discuss long-term care. I had kids for that, so hopefully they just won't put me in a home, but we keep discussing it. It is a major national issue. It is just still so unaffordable. And it keeps trying. I mean, it almost destroyed CalPERS when they did it, and now you can't get in it. And the people that got it, it just keeps increasing and increasing. So someday maybe we'll have universal health care and this won't be a major issue anymore. But we do keep looking at it every single year. And if something happens that will allow us to do it, we will bring that to the board. Let's see, we did hold a June meeting in person, one of the first ones we had. We are planning to hold a couple per term in person. And we're not required to, but we do. It does change the dynamic a little bit. Proposed changes for CalPERS PPO, I already mentioned that. The only real change is from who's managing it. And if anybody's listening, if you have the PPO now, and you don't have to do anything during open enrollment to change it. CalPERS is doing that all for you. It will just automatically switch and you will then get a new card from Blue Shield. Nothing else should change. If you are a little concerned if your doctor's still there, that we recommend that you go to calpers.ca.gov, and they have a search version on there that you can put in your zip code, and you can drill down to your doctor and see if they're in network or not in network. They promise us that virtually nobody will go out of network, but they can't guarantee it. So if you're worried about it, go search and make sure that the doctors you want to see are there. They did promise that moving forward, if you're under care currently with a doctor, no matter if they're in network or not, if it's some condition that's say cancer, and they won't throw you off until that treatment is done. But it's not like your general care, your regular doc, that won't count. If they're not in network, you will be responsible for out of network pay. So if you're concerned, check it on the search. And even then, give the doctor's office a call and just ask them, because these doctors can come and go at will. So there's never a guarantee that that will be your doctor. They are legislatively, I know our consultants in the group have been talking, and I sit on that board in consultation with CalPERS, and I know legislatively they're trying to work on something that will prevent facilities and doctors from popping in and out at will, and make it, at least if they're signed up as of January 1, they have to stay a member of the network until the end of the year. And that would be helpful for members, because right now you could go into the hospital on Monday and they're in network, and Tuesday they're not. So we're keeping all of that kind of plates in the air. Let's see, moving from, we are continuing to look at some of the voluntary benefits, AFLAC and some of those kinds of benefits. We have a few leftovers from the 60s that we do deduct for. We are trying to figure out a way to bring that under our LACCD as a group, not to pay for it, but to allow our bigger group to get a better price for our members, for our employees when they do decide they want to purchase this. And basically, we haven't done it yet just because of staffing issues and haven't had the ability yet to get it programmed, but we continue that. And you've gotten the dental utilization. Next slide. Is there another one, or am I? Oh, okay, that was it. And any questions, and we'll be more than happy to try to answer them. And I was lying, I didn't bring you pictures with the pinhole surgery. Well, we did add, like I said, we added a little bit for implants. And the only issue that we didn't discover was until recently is that it will cover certain things as long as you have good bone structure, but it won't, if you have bad bone structure, it won't cover the repair part. So it's kind of hit and miss. We learn as we go, the whole group does, and that's really our task, is to try to figure out what is there, what's options, and what we can get for all of our members, which includes you guys.
Colleagues, any questions? I'll start down with the student trustee.
All right. Thank you very much.
No questions? Thank you. So now we will take care of item I, the combined consent calendar. We now have for our review the combined consent calendar for items J1 through W4. These items include consent calendars for Human Resources, Personnel Commission, Academic Affairs and Student Services, Budget Finance, Business and Facilities. May I have a motion and a second to adopt the combined consent calendar for items J1 through W12?
So moved.
Moved by Eno. Second by Hernandez. Thank you. Roll call, please. Up first, were there any items that anybody had questions on or, cool? Okay, roll call, please, Madam Board Secretary. Yes.
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 Thank you, colleagues. Now, I have a motion and a second to adopt items X1 through X14.
So moved.
Can I?
Yeah.
Can I pull something or do you want to do that first and then have discussion?
Yeah, no, you can do it now.
Okay.
Were you seconding or just pulling?
No, I usually ask for pulling first or either way is fine. I just need clarification of.
You can pull.
I'll pull X10.
Can I pull X3? I just
Said S10?
X10 and Sarah said X3.
Great.
Did you need to pull for questions or do you want to pull?
I like to pull and then have a discussion. We can vote on everything else first. If you
Okay. So Phoebe Hernandez, you wanted to pull for question or?
Yeah.
pull?
Well, I guess before voting, so just, yeah. On the floor for a question.
Okay, so let's just pull it. So we'll pull X3 and X10. So can I have a motion to adopt X1 through 14, excluding 3 and 10?
So moved.
Okay, second, Henderson. Okay, so let's address item 3. Item X3.
So my question was, I remember this came up before, and this was the California Community College Chancellor's Office had selected, I believe, Southwest for this program. And I just wanted to know, is this additional amendment, are these dollars that are coming? So I believe this was connected to a grant from the Chancellor's Office. And so is this amendment for this additional 1.1 million, is that coming from the grant?
Thank you, Trustee Hernandez. That is our understanding that it is coming from the grant.
That was my question. Very simple.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, President Culpepper. Now for item X10.
Yeah, so can you pull up item X10 on the screen? So I think item X10 is for local lobbying services. And I'm just a little bit confused by the amount of firms that are listed on here, as well as the dollar amounts. And I did try to call the chancellor for clarification, and I just would love some clarification, because I know currently we have one local lobbyist, and I think that retainer that we're paying, that monthly retainer, is $5,000 a month. Can somebody confirm that for me? Is that correct? Dr. Burke, do you know? Okay. I think the chancellor and Maria told me that it was $5,000 a month, but it looks like I don't know if this is a bench or if we're paying monthly retainers to all of these firms, but we're increasing it to, it's a bench? Okay. But my understanding is, when I had further conversation, is that the intent is to have 2 firms ongoing, to the tune of $18,000 a month. And I think that And that's why this annual cost is not to exceed 216,000. So I just wanted more clarification and maybe a presentation before we vote on this as to why we've increased the amount that we need to pay for local lobbying. Local lobbying is, when we do partnerships or we need to reach out to the county board of supervisors. I know our local lobbyists work on when we have events, like we're having an event at Pierce College, and I know the local lobbyist is responsible for contacting the offices of our elected officials to get certificates. I mean, I just want to know what's changed in terms of the work that they're going to do and the value that warrants us paying $18,000 a month. I think that's really high right now. And I would just like to take a pause. I know we've got lots of programs. We have workforce and economic development with Vice Chancellor Lancaster. We have, I know Actum is also doing work with us with Juliet's operation and communications. I feel like we need to sort of have a big picture about what we're doing with communications, with lobbying, with workforce and economic development, and with community partnerships before I feel comfortable voting on this. So that's all. I just don't have enough information.
I don't know if Maria is online or not, but this is a bench, and these are the rates from the vendors that proposed to be on the bench, and she would only utilize them as she has the money to pay the monthly retainer. So she would not be paying the monthly retainer every single month for all of these firms.
That part I understand, but I also don't know, like, what is the selection process? Why did our monthly retainers go up from $5,000 a month? Why do we have two different, we have community engagement and partnership building, and we have legislative and government and lobbying services. How do we decide what month we're using? Because I did ask the question, like, is it an hourly rate? Like, maybe we don't need them for the whole month. Maybe we just have a specific project. Maybe it's, less than a month. I don't know. I just would like more information. I just want to know what changed between what we've been doing for a few years now and why we're going to this new model and we're spending a whole lot more money. And I'm personally not comfortable.
President Henderson, Ms. Veloz is on the line. She's
Trustee Hoffman. Maria manages these lobbyists. But
yes, I'm on the line.
Of course, so I pay the bills.
Yeah.
Maria's on? Okay.
Yes.
Because I was going to say I would get with her and come back with you a report on what has changed, because it has changed. We do pay retainers for a couple of those, but we have bills every month.
Yes, I'm on the line. I could answer.
Are these firms, they're already hired with us? I'm confused.
No, we did a brand new RFP because our contract with the Santa Maria Group had expired. We had them on for 5 years as our local lobbyists. However, 5 years ago, we had 3 lobbying firms. We were paying them a monthly retainer each of $5,000 per month, and which totaled $15,000 a month for all 3 firms. For various reasons, those lobbying firms, they left their positions for various reasons. So we ended up with 1 lobbying firm, and they were hired to do lobbying before the local school boards as well as the cities. And that's what they've been doing. We lost our lobbying firm that used to lobby on our behalf before the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors. And I've been doing that work now for almost 4 years. And we also lost our firm that used to do our partnerships and advocacy outreach with our nonprofits. And I've been doing that work as well on top of my regular job. So we decided we had to go out for a new RFP. And we decided that we would hire 1 firm. And I recall sharing the scope of services with the board to get your feedback and input on the scope of services before we went out and initiated our process. Rather than dividing the work between the various agencies, we decided that it would probably be best to hire one lobbying firm and one community partnership firm. The lobbying firm, as you know, they must be registered as lobbyists. So I cannot, as an employee of the district, I'm not a lobbyist. So I'm really not supposed to be advocating on specific policy items before the local elected bodies. You have to be a registered lobbyist, otherwise you're subject to fines. The organization could be fined as well. If you know, as an organization, if you're not registered as lobbyists. So the amounts that you see here are the amounts that these firms proposed. And class 1 would be lobbying services before the cities, the county, the school boards, and class 2 would be our partnership building services, which would be working with our nonprofit partners and working with our state and federal offices, district offices. So that's how these two RFPs were sent out. These are the amounts that they requested in their proposals. And so this item would only be approving the 2 benches. And then I would come back with a proposal on what our recommendation is in terms of which firms to hire within each of these classes.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions. So are any of these in Juliet Hidalgo's communications bench? The PIO?
Yes, I believe Actum is.
Okay.
But they would not be doing communications work. They would be doing lobbying work.
That's fine. So they're going to be on 2 different, they're the same company doing 2 different services.
If we end up contracting with them.
Okay. What criteria was used on monthly retainers? Was it just what they deemed was their rates? Because I see, you know, for me, a bench should be equal. Everyone should pay, you know, roughly the same. There's a lot of discrepancy here, in my opinion. I don't understand why. And by the way, I had no concept of these retainers, but if you look at Mercury, they're there 2 times. And I get you did 2 benches, but then they're 5,000. I think I understand that that's probably the proposal rate, which is fine. But we are a public institution, and normally, you know, firms will try to accommodate, you know, if their lowest retainer is, you know, $10,000 for education, sometimes they'll start at 5 just as a way to show good faith. So to me, these seem a little bit, you know, and a little bit high on some. And then also, is this a 3-year term right away? You know, I didn't understand that piece too.
Yeah, so these are the amounts that they requested. Obviously, you know, I would go if we selected one of these firms or multiple firms, I would go back and negotiate the rate. So this is what they requested. This is not necessarily what we will pay. So because Mercury, as you probably recall, Mercury closed down their offices and then they became Actum. And now they opened up a new Mercury firm here locally. So the Mercury firm now has different partners than what they previously had. So they applied for both bench 1 and bench 2. And so it could be, you know, that we hire them for both benches. It could be that we only hire them for one.
I mean, I think for me, it's a bit intense. I think, it doesn't seem educator friendly. But I also think that maybe we could try this bench out and do maybe, a year instead of 3 for now and just pass it today and see how it goes. But it just seems a little bit like, again.
I'm totally, I think that is actually a really good idea to try them out for 1 year and see how it goes.
Yeah.
And I think I was kind of thinking the same thing.
And we can write the agreement for the 1-year terms with annual renewals.
And if we could go back and just try to say, hey, do you guys have maybe some firms will have an educator rate or retainer, and that would be nice too. I think it would be a good idea to test this out. I think that's kind of the same concept we did over with our EIO.
Absolutely.
I mean, I also want to know, where did the not to exceed $216,000 a year? I think that seems high as well, because right now, if we're doing 5,000 a month, that isn't anywhere near 216,000. This is more than tripled. So I'd like to make a friendly amendment to have the not to exceed maybe 100,000. I mean, I just think we have federal lobbyists, we have 4 state lobbyists, and we've got a slew of local lobbyists. I just feel like we're spending a lot of money on lobbying, local, state, federal, but we also have folks here, and I'm not saying that they're lobbyists, but we have folks here doing the community engagement and partnership building. We just saw a beautiful video with Dr. Regina Smith, who's doing community engagement and partnership building with LA Unified. Like, again, we've got a vice chancellor of workforce and economic development. I just think this is a lot of money to spend on what we're considering local lobbying. So if we could cut that number down to 100,000, not to exceed 100,000.
Can I ask that you give me an opportunity to work with these various firms before setting, I will try to reduce that amount significantly, but I want the flexibility to be able to negotiate a total amount. And I think, I have shown that I've actually saved the district quite a bit on the monthly retainers on previous contracts that I've had. So if you would indulge me in that way, that would give me the flexibility to negotiate.
Yeah, I think Trustee Hoffman, I think that'd be a good idea to, have Maria kind of also gauge. And I know that, sorry.
No, go ahead. Finish.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask if you wanted to kind of,
Yeah.
and since you're chair.
Sure. Yes. For serving now on the chair of this committee, along with Maria and the team, I would say that, if we look at the time since Maria has been here, the return on investment that she's been able to secure for our district has been immeasurable. And I think it definitely has supported a lot of the great programming and wonderful things that we've been able to do and innovative things that we've been able to do. And so I would like to support the ask. And then, as Maria said, I think some of them we will be kind of like testing them out for the first year to ensure that the return on investment is worth it. But I think potentially during these more lean years, we do have to be creative and make sure we're investing in the future and building those relationships with folks. And so I would like to support this, and definitely, hopefully Maria will have really serious conversations with the folks on this bench to ensure that we are utilizing the resources effectively.
I think I'd like to amend it to, instead of 3 years, do 1 year, if you're okay with that.
That's what right. So for the new ones, the recommendation was to
And
give them 1
also,
year.
I think as a good faith effort, work with the next, well, you could be the chair of public affairs, you never know. Just work with the chair of public affairs to also, which we do already.
Okay.
Try to get to that consensus.
I just want to make one more comment, because you know, we've heard a lot today, and you and I both heard, we were at a meeting last week, where, you know, some colleges are making cuts. They're cutting classes and they're cutting in other areas. It just, you know, we want to increase local lobbying while we're asking, or while folks are coming to us saying their classes are being cut and other services are being cut on the campuses, and that directly affects students. And so I have a real problem with increasing the amount that we're spending as a district on local lobbying services. I just want that on the record, and I want to make that clear that I think we made a good investment. We got a good return on our investment with our local lobbyists this past year. And Kelsey, you and I have been on those calls, and they've done a fabulous job to go from $5,000 a month to $18,000 a month. And that's what I was told it would be, that the intent is to just like pick two off the bench and spend about $18,000 a month. I just think that's an exorbitant amount of money right now. So
Sorry,
I have strong feelings about this.
Maybe just some final thoughts too, as we transition our chancellor from whoever that will be in the near future. You know, trying to not replace, but some of the relationships that Chancellor Rodriguez had will be a huge loss. And so maybe having this additional support during this time. I know our presidents and our faculty, staff, and administrators do a great job on the exterior representing us, but I think hopefully they'll also help us set a strong precedence as we transition into this new leadership also.
Could I have also just a closing thought here? There is a proposal on the ballot to increase the Board of Supervisors, and that I believe, I was told anyway, that it has a good chance of passing. And then there is a new president on the LA City Council, who I think there's going to be a lot more activity at the Los Angeles City Council level. And so I think we're going to see a lot more activity advocacy-wise locally. And like I mentioned previously, I've been doing all of the county contacts myself, and it would be really great to have some support there. So so with that, I will come back and after negotiating amounts with these lobbyists, and then you will have an opportunity to vote no, or I guess or support when I come back.
So Trustee Tennyson, so what are we voting on now?
Only the bench and the total amount, not to exceed cost.
Okay, so not to exceed cost amounts and 1 year.
And 1 year and the bench, not necessarily these amounts.
Does that, I just heard you say, Maria, that it comes back. So this is the bench, and then if someone gets selected to do some work, it still has to come back to us.
Yes, it has to come back to you with the total contract amount.
And I appreciate that, and I'm in support of those two elements here. I did, for the record, want to make the comment that I know in the city of Los Angeles, there's been quite a bit of debate in their ethics committee or commission to modify, strengthen, change, which also includes having nonprofits and labor entities be included in the lobbying process. I think the County of Los Angeles has something on board, but I want to view it as not just like city and county. I think we actually have business later in our agenda today dealing with the LA World Airports to discuss. We have certainly questions with DWP. We have a number of, I better safe than sorry in terms of this area of work, because the work we've done in the past, like lobby, we all, I know it was during my time being president of the board, we lobbied Metro for transit passes very aggressively. We went and spoke and had meetings and did those kinds of things, and to be put in sort of categories where, sometimes even in the regular way of doing business, they're changing. They want to be more public in the disclosure process. But I want to view, sometimes we don't do things that are clearly noticeable with the city or the county, but we do stuff in the past few years with LAWA. We have a hiring program with them. We do stuff clearly with Metro. We have a transit program that we want to continue and grow. So I think in the next few years, I think to conceive of it as a total concept and not just necessarily municipal as being a city or county, that is all these local government entities that we're doing quite a bit of education work with and job training work with, and essentially may have to deal with issues that we don't 100% agree with them and may require a little bit of effort to finagle and maneuver and to use the word lobby. It is sometimes what we have to do as well. So, but with changes suggested, I'm happy to make the motion to.
If I could
approve.
say something. Okay. Trustee Hoffman, I can't help but to agree with you on this. Is lobbying year round?
Yes, at the local level it is.
So are there specific things that are being tackled where it would be like a billable hour situation to where they wouldn't have to do a monthly retainer rate?
That is usually not advisable for lobbyists, because if they have to sit in a board meeting, you have to pay them hourly while they're sitting there. Our board meeting now has been 5 hours long. And so, sometimes given their hourly rates, it comes out to a lot more.
So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, this might sound juvenile, but when we went to Washington, they sure didn't give us $5,000 a month. But yeah, I mean, there's lobbying done at all levels of, like Trustee Hoffman said, there's lobbying done at all levels of, even the students are lobbying for, financial aid and going to conferences and things. So I'm just trying to figure out what in particular is this new legislation that they're trying to create, or maybe I just don't know enough about what exactly are they creating proposals? Are they writing their legislation? Like how does that work?
Well, and these bodies meet twice a week or once a week. So they have various issues that come up on their agenda every week that we monitor. Sometimes we propose different items, like Trustee Hernandez and I did a series of meetings on housing before the City Council earlier this year. Like Trustee Vera said, we also lobbied heavily and aggressively to get go passes, Metro passes for our students before LA Metro. And then we've also lobbied the LA County Board of Supervisors on basic needs issues. And we do a lot of work with, we could actually do more with the LA County Board of Supervisors. The county and the city both supported our AB 895, our BA bill on nursing. And so it just depends. Every week is a different, it's different. And then during their budget cycles, we also monitor which items they're going to fund for the year. And we try to find synergies between what our needs are as a district and what the county or what the city is doing, and where there are synergies and where we could work together. So it just depends.
Thank you.
President Henderson, just really quick. Oh, I'm sorry, student. I was just gonna ask, not ask, but I think that I do want to give credit to our current local lobbyists, because when I was chair of public affairs, they did at least help myself set up meetings regarding the Metro Go Pass with County Board of Suits. And then believe it or not, I couldn't get a meeting with Montebello Unified School District to do the dual enrollment, even though I sat on that board. But they did help me. So I want to give credit where credit is due. And yeah, thank you.
We need a motion to amend.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so I guess we need to redo the motion.
I'm sorry, those were pulled. Did we approve the others?
It was number 3.
We haven't done the roll call, the others.
Just had a question, correct? Yeah, so it was just that we need to attract.
Okay. So can we We have to, since we're making.
So
a
what you
change
can
there-
do is you can go ahead and take the larger group of them, take that roll call vote or the motion and the
then come
second roll
back
call
to
vote,
this.
and then come back to, let's pull this one out separately and vote for it separately and amend it.
Okay, so we have a motion made by VP Eno, second by Henderson to approve to adopt X1 through X14 with exclusion of X10. Can we have a roll call, please?
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote. Trustee Boulna. Trustee Henderson.
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez.
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman.
Yes.
Trustee Eno.
Yes.
Trustee Vella.
Yes.
Trustee Vettis.
Yes.
Okay, and so now can I have a motion and a second to adopt item X10
Well, can we, but we're.
with the,
Yeah. Can you say what the motion is?
so the motion is to authorize establishment of panel and professional services agreements for local government, legislative and lobbying services and community engagement and partnership building services at the ESC for an annual total cost not to exceed, does this amount?
No, it's,
Not to exceed.
so it's a not to exceed, meaning you can go below that amount. So so it's 1 year, and if a not to exceed can also certainly be below that amount too. It's just obviously the max threshold. But it's, yeah, again, it's up to you whether you want to change that to a lower up not to exceed threshold. Yeah, but that's an annual cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we would just pick a dollar amount
Well,
based off of
certainly I would
the
look to Ms.
amendment?
Velos to determine whether obviously 1 year is actually going to cover. Because right now, what I understand from the discussion is the 216,000 is an annual cost. So even if you reduce the contract to 1 year, it's still 216,000. So if you reduce that, she needs to be able to identify whether that's going to cover.
What she needs to do for
Yeah,
the year.
exactly.
I think the 216 will cover 1 year for class 1 and class 2.
Okay,
And
so
I will significantly try to reduce that amount per year.
it's changing 3 years to 1 year.
Right.
The annual cost is still the same.
Annual
She's
cost.
gonna negotiate.
Right.
But Maria, you also said that you would try to work with the firms, like trustee Vella suggested, to see if you can.
I will go back to them and see if they will lower their rates, their monthly retainer rate.
Right, because some of them are like double what the other.
And just remember, it doesn't mean we're gonna hire all of these firms, you know? It could be that we only pick one or we pick, two at a lesser rate. So if you give me that flexibility, I will negotiate a lower rate.
Before you would hire the firm, before you would utilize a firm from the bench, it would come back to the board, correct? Isn't that what Sarah said? It would come to us for approval? Okay, because I don't know how you choose when one is 25,000 a month and one is, 10,000 a mont.
So if I may
Making
just,
the choice.
if the board would like to see this once a contract is awarded, so maybe what you are voting on is just the intended award of the bench. And then if in fact you want to come back with specific contracts to you, then that will be the approval on the contract itself. So you could award the intent to award or approve the intent to award to this bench. And then if you would like, come back with specific contract approval for the individuals that you're actually contracting with. That is an option that you may have.
So the motion would change and become to authorize the intent to establish.
Yes, the bench. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm comfortable with that too.
Okay, so the motion is to authorize the establishment of the bench for local government, ledge and lobbying services for 1 year. For 1 year, not to exceed $216,000.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, is there a motion in a second?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Eno.
Second.
Second by Vella. Roll call, please.
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote. Trustee Boulna.
Yes.
Trustee Henderson.
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez.
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman.
Yes.
Trustee Eno.
Yes.
Trustee Vella.
Yes.
Trustee Vettis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria, for jumping on to.
Yeah. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm working hard.
We'll make sure you get our person elected.
I'm on vacation. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, so now, may I have a motion and a second to adopt facilities items Y1 through Y12? Moved by Wellman. Oh, I'm sorry, with the exception of Y10. Yeah. So moved by Wellman, second by Henderson. Any items need to be addressed? All righty then, roll call, please.
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote. Trustee Boulna.
Yes.
Trustee Henderson.
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez.
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman. Trustee Eno. Absent. Trustee Vella.
Yes.
Trustee Vettis.
Yes.
Thank you, colleagues. So now we have. So for item Z2, in accordance with Administrative Procedure 6740, the board adopts the finding that Mr. Laff attended at least 2/3 of the meetings during his previous 2 terms and served on the District Citizens Oversight Committee in an exemplary manner. The board now reappoints Mr. Laff to a 3rd term. So may I have a motion and a second on item C2?
So moved.
Thank you. Moved by Hernandez. Second by Henderson. Roll call, please.
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote.
Yes.
Trustee Boulna.
Yes.
Trustee Henderson.
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez.
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman.
Yes.
Trustee Eno. Trustee Vella.
Yes.
Trustee Vettis.
Yes.
Thank you, colleagues. So now for item Z3, in accordance with Administrative Procedure 6740, the board adopts the finding that Ms. Martinez attended at least 2/3 of the meetings during her previous 2 terms and served on the Citizens Oversight Committee in an exemplary manner. The board now reappoints Ms. Martinez to a 3rd term. Is there a motion and a second to approve item Z3? Moved by Buelna,
Second.
second by Eno. Roll call, please.
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote.
Yes.
Trustee Boulna.
Yes.
Trustee Henderson.
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez.
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman.
Yes.
Trustee Eno.
Yes.
Trustee Vella.
Yes.
Trustee Vettis.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, colleagues. Now for item Z4, is there a motion and a second to reappoint Francisco Orozco to the District Citizens Oversight Committee? Moved by Buelna,
Second.
second by Eno. Roll call, please.
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote.
Yes.
Trustee Boulna. Trustee Henderson.
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez.
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman.
Yes.
Trustee Eno.
Yes.
Trustee Vella.
Yes.
Trustee Vettis.
Yes.
Thank you, colleague. And now for item Z5, may I have a motion and a second to reappoint Daryl Smith to the District Citizens Oversight Committee? Moved by Buelna.
Yes.
Second.
Thank you. Second by Vella. Roll call, please.
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote.
Yes.
Trustee Boulna. Trustee Henderson.
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez.
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman.
Yes.
Trustee Eno. Trustee Vella.
Yes.
Trustee Vettis.
Yes.
Thank you, colleagues. Now for item AA, these matters require a supermajority vote. May I have a motion and a second to adopt item AA1, which is emergency resolution for the restoration of water damaged areas on the campus center basement at LA Valley College. Moved by Buelna. Second by Henderson. Roll call, please.
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote. Trustee Boulna. Trustee Henderson. Trustee Hoffman.
Yes.
Trustee Eno.
Yes.
Trustee Vella.
Yes.
Trustee Vettis. Trustee
Yes.
Hernandez. Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. there are two informative, colleagues, no action is required. The first is a proposal for, LA School District Student Trustee Stipend increase, and the other is a notification of out-of-state travel. For item CC, announcements and indications of future proposed actions of board members. Colleagues, any future proposed actions? I'll start down at the end with Trustee Hoffman.
No.
None with me.
Thank you. Ferris?
None.
Thank you. I have none. None. Okay, thank you. Next, we have item DD, the First Amendment and the Brown Act guarantee a member of the public the right to criticize a public employee or public official and the performance of their duties. However, speakers are encouraged to focus their comments on issues relevant to the conduct of the public's business rather than on private, unrelated matters. Speakers are reminded that the Brown Act and First Amendment do not protect defamatory statements made which may subject the speaker to personal liability. So we have 5 speakers. The first is Dr. Christine Wright. Is she here or online?
She's supposed to be here.
She's here.
Perfect. Thank you.
Ms. Wright, you'll have 3 minutes.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christine Wright. I'm a sociologist and tenured faculty member at Southwest College. James Baldwin is one of my favorite writers and thought leaders, so I'd like to frame my comments with a quotation attributed to him. I can't believe what you say because I see what you do. What do you and your administrators say? You'll negotiate in good faith and not violate our contract. What you do? Backtrack on paying all faculty differentials as negotiated and included in our last ratified contract, and by that action, not treat all faculty equitably. What you say? You're the most progressive board that we've ever had and students come first. What you do? Disenfranchise the student trustee by allowing only an advisory vote that was not even recorded in the minutes until recently. Pass a budget that allocates minimal to racial equity and social justice spending, instead spending millions on litigation and legal counsel that would be better spent as direct aid to our students and to actualize rhetoric on equity. What you say, you will take seriously and act against harassment on all its forms. What you do, allow administrators to target and retaliate against women of color for exercising their contractual rights. And you also protected a sexual harasser and continue to re-victimize my colleague by appealing a court decision that went in her favor. Drop the appeal. What you say, we will follow our processes and all laws. What you do, not respond to emails, not rate in faculty properly, often ignore or go against medical professional recommendations and accommodations processes, hold thousands to possibly hundreds of thousands in wages owed to faculty due to countless payroll errors, and then circumvent shared governance by unilaterally imposing directives or appointments outside the participatory decision-making processes. I personally will never believe rhetoric if your actions don't match, and neither should the public who elects you. So please show and prove, or next month the public should elect new trustees that will. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Peyton Center on Zoom.
Yeah, she's not, I've checked her name. She's not online. She probably
Okay,
left.
Misty. I'm sorry, Roxana Sanchez
She's online.
online.
Yes, hi. Hi, this is Roxana Sanchez, and I'd like to thank the Board of Trustees for the opportunity to speak. I want to turn your attention to the story that is happening at Southwest College. Dr. Miller Tate, Professor Lara Castro, and myself, all 3 of us have been recipients of disciplinary action in the form of administrative evaluations. Now, if you don't understand administrative evaluations, let me help you understand them. When you get one, that meant that you were in trouble from before you had a bad evaluation. And this is this would be the final step. So if James McKeever is still in the room, he could correct me if I'm wrong, but he did say that this is a violation of our contract. So all three of us have violations of our contract for trumped up charges. And we have been put on disciplinary action. I would like to also say that some of us have been put on disciplinary leave, locked out from using our emails for several months. And what is happening at Southwest is that there are women of color who continuously speak out about contract violations, and we grieve them. And then what happens is this domino effect of negative things happening to us. I don't want to say the R word, but it's the R word. And so I'm asking the board members, I know you know who I am. You know that I've hit you up in the emails. So we need your help. And it is horrendous, the stress that we have been put into for speaking up, that we want safe working environments. As my kinfolk would say, si se puede, and as my Irish kinfolk would say, Chucky our law. Someday our day will come. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you see Peyton?
Yeah, we have Angela Belton. 3 minutes.
Good evening, trustees, chancellor, vice chancellors, administrators, and colleagues. My name is Angel Belden, and I'm the AFT 1521 chapter president at Pierce College. Teaching dual enrollment comes with some challenges and some inequities among faculty. One challenge is massive traffic jams when parking in the morning or leaving in the afternoon. One example of an inequity is when the calendars don't match. For example, LACCD and LAUSD have 2 different spring breaks, which means if you are teaching for one district, our district, at 2 different sites, you're not able to take a break the way other faculty are who are only teaching at one site. Management recognized these challenges and inequities during negotiations, and we agreed on a very small monthly stipend for taking on these dual enrollment assignments. These are faculty issues, yet adjunct faculty have been systematically denied these stipends. Please keep your promises and implement the contract fairly and equitably.
Thank you. So is Peyton on?
Caesar. Oh, we have one more. Caesar, he's online.
Thank you. Good afternoon, board. Thank you for your time. My name is Rudy Casares, and I'm a professor at Los Angeles Mission College. I also serve my campus as a union organizer who worked hard to bring transparency to our membership during the contract negotiations, at times bringing up to 300 rank and file members into the negotiations room. We were all present when we negotiated the differentials for dual enrollment. As a union, we celebrated these wins with our membership, and we ratified our contract with an understanding that these differentials were for both full-time and adjunct faculty. And now we're told that our negotiation efforts were not inclusive of adjuncts, and that simply isn't true. I ask that the board make it a priority to honor the contract that we agreed to and pay these differentials retroactive to July 2023. Board, be righteous, be honest, and honor the contract that we all know that we agreed to. It's been longer than a year since we ratified this contract, and we've yet to be compensated for our work. As professors, we all do our jobs, and we expect that you'll do yours too. Once again, thank you for your time and your attention to this matter.
Thank you.
We're done.
Was Peyton Center? Did you?
No,
they're not
they
there at all?
didn't show up. Yeah.
Okay, so next on Zoom, we have Misty, is it Shade?
They're not online.
Priscilla, Roxana even?
No. Okay. Looks like we're done.
So do we have anybody signed up to speak for closed session?
No.
So the board will now recess to closed session in according with, oh, I'm so sorry. I need to go back to thank you, item BB, item BB1, student trustee.
Hello, everyone. I know that this has been a really long meeting, so I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but there's a increase for the stipend that I'm proposing, which actually I'm not technically proposing. It was something that it was already supposed to happen at the beginning of the term, and it was tabled because the board wanted to do more research on how it affects financial aid and CalWorks and other things that for the future student trustees. But I want to take myself out of the position because, I mean, I just represent students, so I don't come here as Amber. I come here as the face for the students. So this position, we're frontline. We are on campus. My phone constantly rings from the presidents and other people, the consultants that work with the presidents about issues that are going on campus. We're constantly asked questions. We are the representative, the student representative for the nation's largest district. So when we go to conferences, we're always looked to as the representative of even the student trustees. So I think that more than need, the increase really shows the value of the position. I often sit in meetings and I see people increasing their salaries or increasing, because of COLA. So it's not necessarily a need, but it is a way to show that there's value in this position. We have a lot of things to do. I'm kind of nervous because I didn't expect to be so pulled in so many different directions when I came into this position. And I'm so glad that these meetings are once a month because I really don't think I could. It takes a month to recover from them. So, so yeah, I mean, yeah, I submitted a proposal. It's attached to the agenda. There's not oftentimes there's little to no front loading on any of the agenda items. So we're kind of left in the dark, either you research what's going on and it's these high dollar amounts. You don't want to be liable for anything. You hear all of these nefarious, accusations. So you don't want to be involved. It's a lot of different things that are at play when you're a student trustee. And, just making sure you continue to keep your, your character and the things that come. So I say all that to say, I think the student trustee stipend increase is something that I am serious about. It's something that I want to do within my term. And it hasn't been increased in I don't know how long. So I think it's just important to increase the student trustee position. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now the board will recess to closed session in accordance with the Ralph M. Brown Act Government Code Sections 54950 and the Ed Code to discuss the matters on the posted closed session agenda pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.5. May I have a motion and a second to recess?
Second.
Motion made by Buelna, second by Eno. Roll call, please.
Trustee Buelna? Yes. Trustee Henderson?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez? Trustee Hoffman? Trustee Eno? Trustee Vella? Trustee Vegas?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Right.
I stand by it for